What if Deku became a mega werewolf? How would this change everything? Overpower Deku. Before we start, I want you guys to subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and also share this video with your friends. It will really mean a lot to me. You can also check other what ifs on the channel. Your support keeps me motivated to bring more amazing what ifs for you guys. Now let's begin. Deku's point of view. My alarm clock's irritating buzz awakens me from yet another nightmare. If I wasn't truly enjoying it, I would be content. I get out of bed with my stiff worn out body, and rub my eyes before checking the time. 9:30 am. Oh, that's good. I yell out from the dorms, I'm late, and hastily put on my uniform while ignoring my horrible green and black hairdo. I virtually sprint to 1A, but not before dousing myself in a mist. When I throw open the door and draw everyone's eyes to me, Izuku-sensei gives me a look that makes my fluffy green ears curl back. He says, evidently unimpressed, late. Again. Okay, so perhaps I have been a little tardy lately. And when I say late, I kind of mean every day, but I'm not to blame. The two sexiest males in your grade are in the same class as you. I'm also their mate, as if that weren't difficult enough. Given that I just described them as being attractive, you may be perplexed right now. After all, why would I not want them to be my friends? The problem is that they don't genuinely understand. They're unaware that I am married to two wonderful individuals. Despite their initial amazement, they are aware that they have a third mate. Of course, it's not impossible to have two partners, but it's highly uncommon. Anyway, they were already together when I received my mark. They both quickly developed my mark, and ever since then, they have been on the lookout for their partner. I'm fortunate to possess a semi-functional intellect, as I was able to conjure up an explanation that concealed the mate link from them. Unfortunately, I still experience all of it. And since I'm so close to them yet so far away from them, I feel a little crazy. I give them both a quick glance before suddenly losing all remaining air in my lungs. One of the school's 4 alphas is Shoto Todoroki. He's undoubtedly one of the most attractive guys alive, thanks to his two-toned hair and mismatched eyes. Like everyone else, he was staring at me with his customary expressionless face, displaying enjoyment. I turned to face my explosive ash-blonde childhood best friend, who had spiky hair. He was 6'5", a little shorter than Todoroki, who was 6'7". He was an alpha like Todoroki, but everyone knew that he would ultimately succumb to Todoroki. Todoroki is the strongest alpha in this group, so no one can really blame him. His smirk was accompanied by a slow head shake that revealed amusement in his ruby red eyes. If you're still unclear, Kachin and I remain the closest of friends. He never bullies me and doesn't now, so it's more like teasing. Even though they are unaware of me being their friend, Todoroki and I are pretty close. But even though it's hurting me, I must admit that I've been trying to avoid them ever since I found out. The wary professional hero successfully catches my attention once more by clearing his throat. Denki is also grinning at me as I turn to face him, though. This one, nevertheless, differs from my friends and makes my cheeks warm. Both Denki and Kirishima are aware of who my friends are, and the circumstances surrounding my refusal to reveal this information to them. They don't like it, but they promise to keep quiet about it, which I greatly appreciate. I hesitantly speak up, scratching at the back of my neck and giggling nervously. Sorry, I say. The pro hero doesn't seem any less irritated, and I can understand why. For the previous 3 weeks, I've been late every single day. Ever since I learned who my friends were. Even though I'm late, I'm always the first one finished with my homework, assignments, and any other work in general, so he doesn't really do anything about it. Even though I would lose the little sleep I do get if I did it. Izuku sighed and shook his head after appearing to consider things briefly. He murmurs, just sit down, and climbs into his sleeping bag as I dash to my desk. As I fight to keep my eyes open, I don't really pay attention in class as much as I should, taking haphazard notes. I'm quite grateful that I don't seem to get eye bags, because if I did, everyone would be able to tell how much I slept. Which is not a good thing. It's bad enough that my class is already too kind, but since I'm the only Omega in the entire school, everyone was extra cautious around me. Either that or they were complete asses, I suppose. There were only 4 alpha kids in the entire school, and one of them was in my class. The majority of the students were betas. The other was a third-year student. When I, an Omega, managed to enter the school, people were, to put it mildly, shocked. We're meant to be the helpless ones, the ones who take care of the housework, cook, and kids. Even though it may appear unjust, the majority of Omegas don't mind. In actuality, they favor it. But I don't really like any of that. I still clearly identify as an Omega, as seen by the fact that I whimper in response to an alpha or even beta's roar, or that, despite my best efforts, I am always the first to surrender. My personality is very similar to a beta, although a weak one. Without a doubt, I am strong, but compared to wolves of higher ranks, I am not as intelligent or physically strong. When I say mental, I'm referring to my will and how I can't for the life of me refuse an alpha order. I could easily say that I'm among the smartest students here. As class drags on, I soon find myself dozing off at my desk. Which, by the way, is currently surprisingly pleasant. I have no idea how long it will be before the bells ring, and despite a part of me begging me to get up, I just can't. Bang, my eyes are wide awake as I hear a tiny explosion take place right next to me. I yell out and leap, focusing on the offender. I look away and pout instead as he arches an eyebrow. Alphas don't put up with disrespect, and Kachin is particularly judgmental of those who gaze at him. I complain as my ears, which were pressed up against my head from the noise, begin to gently return to their former positions. I was sleeping, I say. Kachin says, we know that, nerd, but you have class, so get up, trying to sound irritated, but his smile tells me he isn't. I sulk more and put my head back on the desk, rather than paying attention to what he has to say. Kachin lets out a tiny growl, and then he looks to his partner for assistance. Todoroki merely stands there and chuckles briefly, which gave me the chills when I learned of their preferences. The painstakingly clear mate bond between us almost made me whimper in desire for them to touch me. I couldn't though, because she would hurt me. Deku, I really do mean it, you're going to be late for your next class. My eyes are now closed, and my attention is slowly wandering, but I don't move. There was another roar, and this time it made me whimper. I was blatantly disobeying one of the more volatile alphas, and alphas didn't appreciate it when they were defied. I carefully raised my head and naively peered up at Kachin. Now that Todoroki was standing next to him, even in my exhausted state, I could see that he didn't enjoy how his partner was being disobeyed. They both continued to smile, so at least I know I'm not in serious trouble. Kachin grumbled and shook his head as he hastily grabbed my waist and threw me over his shoulder, when I made no attempt to stand up. I yelled, "Eek. Kachin. What are you doing?" he asked as he began to walk with Shoto following him. I was electrified by his mere touch, and it took all of my willpower to resist wailing at the sensation. Naturally, Kachin felt nothing because, aside from the mark on my shoulder, I had sprayed myself this morning to remove all traces of our relationship. I said, "You weren't listening to me, and I don't know about you, but I don't want to be late for All Might's class." I huffed and scowled as I crossed my arms. Todoroki laughed at my impolite actions once more. I murmured, "Meanies," which caused the alphas to roll their eyes. I was glad I got to experience this side of them because, to everyone else, Kachin is a volatile and, let's be honest, occasionally plain immature alpha. Shoto is the complete opposite. He's cool and collected and never smiles or laughs in their presence. But I still feel like I want more. I should be able to snuggle with them and go on dates there, my friends. Not just occasionally hang out. When Kachin is putting me on my feet, I realize we have arrived at the next classroom. I don't look up at him. Instead, I give Todoroki a quick glance before scanning the hallway. Maybe if I move quickly enough, I'll succeed. I have a thought. However, Kachin grabs my shoulders and gives an order in, you guessed it, his alpha tone before I can. My eyes tighten as I try to resist, keeping my mouth shut as I look Kachin in the eyes. Don't run, Deku. I know you don't always like the guy, but skipping won't help. He lets out a low growl when he notices that I'm trying to fight. By the time he quits, I will have given up. After a short whine, I look down and murmur, "Yes, Alpha," while scowling at my shoes. I only hum in response, not letting myself hope. All questions were out of the way when I let out a growl upon seeing the #1 pro hero. I hear the two alphas sigh. Kachin throws one arm around my shoulder. I don't think he noticed my needy whine, and for that, I'm grateful. We all entered the classroom together. I know you might be confused, so let me explain a little. All Might is still my hero, my mentor, and my #1 idol, but every time I see him, my mood changes dramatically. It doesn't just happen to him, though, it can happen randomly as well. One minute I'll be happy and bright, and the next I'll be on the verge of ripping someone's throat out. If I'm being honest, All Might is a terrible mentor, but despite the fact that I want nothing more than to rip my teeth into his neck, he's still my favorite. My obsessive training isn't helping either. I'm breaking my bones almost every day. They're great for each other, but God, they could fight about anything. Once Kachin managed to get me in my seat, he and Shoto walked to sit at the back of the class, and both ended up bickering about who got to sit next to the window. I was hyper-aware of their presence now due to having been so close to them, even making contact with one. The pounding in my head was a clear indication that what I was doing wasn't healthy, but I couldn't tell them even if I wanted to. The sound of All Might's voice sounds like nails on a chalkboard, and even though it makes me want to tear out his vocal cords, I quickly fish out a mini spray bottle out of my pocket and spray it everywhere again. It will be a long day today. The combination of my friend's scents and All Might's perfumes was so overpowering that I had started to screech at my skin to the point of bleeding. However, I don't mind. In fact, it's kind of fun to bleed and hurt. Physically, at least, I experience enough emotional pain each time I think of my friends. I had no idea how I lasted that long with them. I believe it was a new record for how long we've been together. Although my mood was still off, I tried to maintain the ideal innocence that everyone knew and loved. To say I was in a foul mood would be an understatement. The grin on my face was phony, and the next person who tried to talk to me would get a black eye as a result. If I were seen shirtless, someone would be able to tell my eating habits right away, so I skipped dinner. When I came to my seat, Uraka and Iida were already there, conversing about who knows what. I don't answer, slipping into the seat as I tapped my fingers against the table, but Uraka greeted me gently, followed quickly by Iida with his karate chop. Iida reprimanded me for being rude, as he describes it, after the pink-cheeked kid scowled at my actions. I simply rolled my eyes, and they quickly got back to talking. That is, until Uraraka sighs loudly, gives me a look, and says, "Can you stop that? It's kind of annoying," in reference to the constant tapping on the table. I grumble before getting an idea. "I'm bored, time for some fun." I don't reply again, leading her to repeat herself. I smirk as I lift my head and look into my friend's eyes while tapping louder. Deku. Iida and Uraraka both complain at the same time before they both start telling me to stop, quickly attracting needless attention to us. I continue singing softly, purely to annoy the two across from me. Tap, tap, tappity tap, but I don't stop, my smile deepening as they try to ignore me, but are obviously getting angrier and angrier. Everyone is stunned that a beta just slapped me, the prized Omega, and the sound of someone being slapped fills the cafeteria, bringing it to a sudden silence apart from the growls of the other wolves, of course. I feel a painful stinging sensation on my cheek, my tapping and singing stop, and Uraraka, clearly the attacker, is standing in front of me. I smirk slowly for Iida and Uraraka to see and sent a wink in the girl's direction. She looks perplexed for a split second before fear sets in. It really didn't hurt that much, but I didn't appreciate getting slapped. The growls rose, and now almost everyone was growling at the girl who slapped me. Iida sat there in shock, staring at me with wide eyes as I played the victim. Uraraka stood there trying to explain herself, but no one was listening to her, they were only growling. Kirishima and Denki rushed to the distressed Omega side. The three other students' alphas started mobbing the Omega. Hey, it's okay, Deku, you fine." Kiri tried to calm me down. I made the tears slow down, planning on stopping and desperately trying not to laugh at the sight of Uraraka being cornered by the three other student alphas, but I hold off on stopping the tears as Uraraka shouts, "He's faking it. He's insane. Come on, men. He desires this." I heard Denki growl at the contact, but it didn't last long. Out. My sobbing gets louder, and I run into Kiri's arms, his shirt getting soaked with my salty tears. She doesn't bother to fight, not when the three other alphas are staring at her, or when Kiri growls at her in his alpha tone. I sobbed for another minute as Kiri and Denki comforted me, but I could feel my friend's eyes on me and the rest of the students crowding around me. Eventually, I pulled out of Kiri's arms, wiping my eyes, but I didn't stay for long. I leaped to my feet and forced my way through the crowd before running to the dorms on the verge of breaking. Several people called after me, but no one pursued me since they believed that I just needed some time given how fragile I am. I lost control and started laughing as soon as I entered my dorm room, tumbling to the floor as my laughter filled the space. When there was a knock at the door, I was still laughing, but for a little while, I lost consciousness as the sound of one of my friend's voices reached my ears. "Midoriya, please open the door." My giggling was gone, and in its place was a whiny cry for help. They were both there, and I didn't even need to open the door to see them. They smelled bad to me. I didn't need to look at them again or smell them twice to recognize them because their odors were so alluring and distinctive. I guess I answered too slowly since the subsequent knocker nearly toppled the door. "Deku, please open up, we know you're in there." "We heard you," Kachin commanded. I rolled my eyes but whined in response. Omega hormones are stupid. They heard me, what? I guess my friends will now think I'm crazy. I complained once more at the idea, hoping that my previous whine and this one would go unnoticed. I dragged myself to my feet, unlocked the door, and shuffled over to my bed after it was opened. I was facing down as the two alphas came in, so I could only see their feet move until they were standing in front of me. Kachin barked Deku, which caused me to flinch in my seat. I hope Todoroki wasn't upset with me because he was acting somewhat normally and being quiet. Or even worse, dissatisfied. I'm not sorry for what I did. In truth, I thought it was amusing and still wanted to laugh, but I also didn't want to upset my alphas. Even if they are unaware that I am their mate or that they are my alphas. I hum in agreement, keeping my head bowed as I glance up at him. Again, I was attempting to play the victim, but as Kachin growled, I could tell it wasn't working. While waiting for the situation to resolve itself, Todoroki did nothing to pacify Kachin. I gave up the performance with a groan and lay down on the bed. As I speak, my eyes are fixed on the ceiling. "What are you expecting me to say?" I complained, pouting. I was bored, and the beach stated I was bothering her. "And did she find you annoying?" Bakugo tried to be patient, as he said. He may have realized why I was acting in this way. They are completely aware of the overall impact of my occasional outbursts, even if they are unaware of what led to this behavior. No? Maybe. Kinda. Okay, sure. Although I was bothering her, she could have easily left. I looked at them while sitting back up in defense. But not in their eyes. I was in danger, and even though I knew they wouldn't mind, my inner Omega forbade me from seeing them in the eyes, unless I was given the okay. "She didn't have to slap me," I said, putting my palm on my cheek, which I was almost positive had a bruise. Both of the alphas let out a low growl in response to the fact that I had been harmed. Todoroki finally spoke after another minute of silence. "She shouldn't have hit you, you correct. Additionally, Kirishima is currently punishing her." Although he spoke in his typical monotone manner, I could still sense his authority. He just paused to give Kachin a short glare, since he knew that she would probably object to how he was going to administer this punishment. As Todoroki proceeded, Kachin sighed gently but shut his mouth. But going so far as to make Uraraka the villain was inappropriate. As she will to you, I anticipate you to apologize. You are also suspended from activity for the rest of the week. His tone left no space for debate, yet me being me, I felt compelled to respond. She's lucky I didn't bite her because she totally deserved what she got. Which, given how knowledgeable my canines are, wouldn't be all that advantageous for her. I don't want to apologize to her. You cannot ground me, either. I object as I hone in on the alpha with my eyes. Unlike Kachin, he doesn't snarl or sneer at me. Instead, he raises one eyebrow and asks, "Oh, really?" Almost in a contemptuous tone. I start to speak but quickly close my mouth while gazing at the floor. He says, "That's what I thought, and if I weren't so madly in love with him, I might have been angry." Okay. Perhaps not. Even though I occasionally treat them disrespectfully, they're alphas, so I doubt I'd ever become angry with them. After a little period of silence, Kachin says, "I expect you will do as told." "Yes, alphas," I reply, no longer staring, but instead pouting at the floor. "Hey, be upbeat. We can engage in video game play by Katsuki, you can't play video games because you're grounded." Todoroki cuts off his partner. He seems to be upset that we couldn't play, and I can hear him whining, but he doesn't continue. Actually, I'm a little taken aback. Since a while ago, we haven't played any video games. Which is my fault because I try to stay away from them a lot. I simply can't stand it. All I want to do right now is run into their warm embrace and stay there forever. I hear Kachin murmur, "Stupid punishment," as he exits with Shoto, the two of them exchanging farewells. I complain after they leave because I already miss them. The rest of the week went by rather quickly. The following morning, I was back to my old self when I awoke, and I immediately felt bad. Quickly getting ready for school, I ran to Uraraka's room, where I apologized profusely and even started crying at the possibility of losing one of my best friends. Even if she isn't real. Fortunately, she forgave me, and I forgave her. The situation was excellent. I was able to manage, or at least conceal, my emotions and avoid getting into problems. Even though I continue to believe that I didn't deserve a punishment like my grounding, I did feel awful for what I had done to Uraraka. I even arrived on time for class. Everything worked out well, and not just for me. The small band formed by Todoroki and Kachin was gaining more and more fans. Kyuri and Denki at last admitted their relationship to others. Uraraka also discovered her mate. Toga was a person's name. It didn't last long, though. When Friday finally arrived, I was 2 hours late for class. The previous night, I had a really bad nightmare and was only able to sleep for 30 minutes. I was unable to force myself to get out of bed when it was time to leave for school. I didn't want to see how content my friends were without me. Even though I knew it wasn't their fault, watching them leave without me would only worsen my unhappiness. 2 hours after I should have been in class, there I was, lying on the floor of my dorm room. As the voices shrieked, blood covered everything around me, including my wrists, hips, ankles, eyes, and literally any place I could reach. I smiled despite my tear-stained face, and despite this, I anticipated this. It seems normal, I guess. After my mother was killed in an accident, I gradually fell apart. I believed the world had come to an end. I had lost my son, and I was at a loss for what to do. My mother gave me life and ensured that my heart beat regularly. She abruptly vanished after that. She escaped my clutches and was snatched up by death as she dropped into a pitch-black chasm, ripped off of me. All that was left was Kachin, but he began to focus more on Todoroki, his mate. I no longer desired to live. I felt like giving up. Everyone seems content. Just when I was about to quit, I located them. My friends. I also had fresh motivation for life. I was ecstatic to learn that Kachin and Todoroki were my friends. Maybe I'd find someone who really loved me. Even though Uraraka and Iida were obviously not real, I suppose I had them. I couldn't wait to tell them because I was eager to experience the love and acceptance I had been missing since my mother's passing. But later, she appeared. Told me that if I revealed my identity or that of Kachin's mother, my auntie would be killed along with anyone else deemed appropriate. I suddenly felt alone once more. I created a potion to conceal my mate's bond using the resources I had available. 2 new buddies of mine, I made an effort to deny Iida's and Uraraka's actual emotions. I gave my training my all, learning to enjoy the pain I felt when I broke a bone or cut my skin. I disregarded my potion's negative effects, which included delusions, sadness, anxiety, bipolar disorder, and more. It's funny what long sleeves and a phony smile can do. The whispers would murmur that they would be better off without you, telling me I'm obese, helpless, and weak. I increased my training, quit eating, and kept on cutting. I eventually became so adept at acting as though it were real. I was truly pleased. The negative. I would experience sharp mood swings, but it makes no difference. Right, as long as everyone else is content. Yes, I couldn't even attempt that. I strike out at people, fabricate, deceive, and hurt them. I am now skipping class. All I had left were my classes. Everything would be okay as long as I became a hero, but based on everyone's assessments, am I skipping and not trying hard enough? I'll be behind in no time. Just let me be myself again. That's challenging, though, especially given that I sometimes seem to forget how to be myself. Izuku, please consider the positive. There must be hope, as you have yet to swear. I start to chuckle internally, but it quickly transforms into a choking sob. And then I start crying once more. I'm not really certain that I stopped at all. I don't know how much time passes, but I eventually find myself dozing off on the floor, curled up, with blood dripping from my numerous wounds all around me. Once more, dreams visited me. I woke up to knocking at my door, but with the strong smell of blood filling my nose, I didn't know who it was. That was until they kicked down the door, revealing a distressed-looking Denki and Kirishima. Their eyes went white at the sight in front of them, and I couldn't blame them. One of their closest friends, and the Omega of the school, was laying in a pile of his own blood with deep cuts all over his body. I couldn't smell my mates, or anyone else for that matter, and with a quick look at the clock I know class is still in session for a few hours. Meaning Kami and Kiri came to check up on me. "Oh, hey guys, how's it going?" I asked with a small smile before passing out. When I wake back up, I'm in my own bed, bandages wrapped around anywhere I could. The blood was all cleaned up, only a faint smell left. At the end of my bed sat a red-haired alpha with a sleeping Denki. He hadn't noticed I was awake yet, so I looked the time to look at him. By the looks of it, he had been crying, and I know for a fact Denki has been too. Perks of being an Omega, I can basically feel what others are feeling emotionally. "I'm sorry," is the first thing I say, barely above a whisper. Kiri brings his eyes to me, opening his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. "At least I think I am. I don't know anymore," it comes out in a whimper, my eyes burning with unshed tears that refuse to fall. He's silent for a while, and just as I start to panic, he speaks. I know, his voice, like mine, is just above a whisper, but I still heard the crack in it. The room falls into silence again, until I can't help it and blurt, "Do you guys hate me?" I don't think I would be able to handle if they did. Both of them have helped me deal with some pretty tough things, like my mates. If one, let alone both, started hated me, I think I'd snap for good. I need them as much as I need my mates, both of which I can't actually have, so they're even more important. "Of course we don't hate you, Izu," Denki says softly, sitting up so he's not leaning on his mate anymore. "Are we hurt?" "Yes. Mad. Maybe a bit. But hate you? Never. You're like our brother, we could never hate you," Kami states seriously, looking me dead in the eyes. He's right. Kiri agrees, giving me a soft smile. I manage to return it, still feeling a bit gloomy. How come each time I actually want a mood swing, it never happens? A thought passes through my mind, and I instantly start to panic again. I'm about to open my mouth to beg, make promises I can't keep, plead with the couple, when Denki speaks. "Don't worry, we won't tell anyone until you're ready." Those 9 words have me relaxing again, almost all worry gone. We lapse into another silence, everyone likely thinking about something different. Kiri is the one to break it again as he says, "Now, do you want to talk, or a distraction?" I couldn't be more grateful right now. I give them both a weak smile before answering. "Distraction," I speak, not ready to talk about it yet. They seem fine with the answer, not asking again or trying to push me. Instead, they get up before pulling me up. I feel my cut stretch and rub against the bandages, but I don't even wince. We leave the room together, and I don't even have to ask to know where we are going. Anytime I'm upset, they'll take me there. It's like our special cool-down spot. Soon enough we're there. The theater room. It was quite large, like everything in this school. A large stage with red curtains, rows and rows of seats, an area in front of the stage where people play music for plays. There was even a backstage area and a place out front where people could practice. Most of the room was made of wood, a few brick structures and steel ornaments. I jump onto the stage, a smile already on my face and a bounce in my movements. I hear my friends, no, brothers, laugh at my behavior, clearly relieved to see me happy again. "Cover one of your own?" Kami asks, grabbing a guitar with his mate as I stand behind the microphone. "Original, worst day of my life," I answer, receiving a nod in return. Only Kiri and Kami know I sing, not even Kachin knows. I also write my own songs, working on them whenever I have the time to. Kirishima and Denki both ditch the guitars, one going to the piano and the other planning on only using their hands, giving me the signal to start singing once they were ready. I breath in, smile still on my face as I start. Well, my manager rang. He said, "I hate to break the news, but the label called today. They said they have to cut you loose." I felt broken like a vase that had fallen from the roof. Tears rolling down my face. Lord, what am I to do? I was once told that my voice was like velvet, soft and fragile. My face lost its smile as I continued purely to get into character, to feel my music. It was still clear I was happy by the way I was bouncing on my feet or swing back and forth. I felt pain in my life so far, a fractured wrist and a broken heart, but this is sure to leave a nasty scar, one that might not heal. The piano's tune echoed throughout the room, along with my voice and the clapping. So I said, this is the worst day of my life. It's the worst day of my life. And I don't know how I'll survive. It's the worst day of my life. I'll admit it's a struggle. Finding light in the tunnel. This is the worst day of my life. It's the worst day of my life. The words roll off my tongue with ease, knowing the words off by heart. Kiri and Kami hum along, neither of them liking to sing, but both having a talent when it came to instruments. Well, I gave up my degree and I moved away from home. I was following my dream, now there's nowhere I can go. So I called up my mom and I was bawling on the phone. I was acting like a child, but I was all the way grown. I felt pain in my life so far, a fractured wrist and a broken heart, but this is sure to leave a nasty scar, one that might not heal. So I said, this is the worst day of my life. It's the worst day of my life, and I don't know how I'll survive. It's the worst day of my life. I'll admit it's a struggle. Finding light in the tunnel. This is the worst day of my life. It's the worst day of my life. So I thought to myself that now is time to choose. I can pick myself up or I can give in to the blues. So I swore in my heart that I was never gonna lose. I would crawl until I made it cause I got something to prove. I felt pain in my life so far, a fractured wrist and a broken heart, but this is sure to leave a nasty scar, one that might not heal. So I said, this is the worst day of my life. It's the worst day of my life, and I don't know how I'll survive. It's the worst day of my life. I'll admit it's a struggle. Finding light in the tunnel. This is the worst day of my life. It's the worst day of my life. My voice dies off, smile back on my face and current episode being the last thing on my mind. I turned to look at the two of the wolves, seeing smiles on both their faces. Again. I beg, puppy dog eyes and all. They chuckle and shake their head before they look serious again. Better? Kaminari asks, hope clear. I let my smile turn soft and nod my head, not needing them to say what they're talking about to know. They smiled back before opening their arms. I don't wait, running into them. It wasn't the touch I craved, not as satisfying as it would be to have my own mate's arms wrapped around me. But it still felt nice. It was still love, the love of a brother. The day passed quickly after that, the three of us singing one more song before they had to return to class. They told me to change my bandages in a while, and promised they would keep my secret. We said our goodbyes before splitting, Kaminari and Kirishima going to class and I to my dorm room. The second my head hit the pillow I was in a much needed sleep. I practically skipped to class the next day, late I may add. But I honestly didn't care. I was in such a good mood I felt like laughing until my lungs gave out. My ears, which had been flat against my head for the past few days, were now high and perky, twitching with each noise. I think my tail was even wagging. I swung the door open, all attention being put on me in an instant. My smile grew as I waved to the class, bouncing on my feet as I glanced at Kachin to find he looked terrified or at the very least, extremely worried. It made me giggle. Looking around again, I see most of the class staring at me with either wide or narrowed eyes. All but Todoroki, who seemed to be looking on in amusement, although to anyone else it would look like his usual bored face. I also noticed a certain perv missing from the class as well. Ignoring Sensei Izuku, who looked as if he were about to scold me, I tilted my head and spoke, "Where's Grapist?" There was a moment of silence, where everyone, including Todoroki and Izuku, simply blinked at me. The silence was soon ruined when someone, Kaminari, snorted. Soon followed by a round of snickers and chuckles. I even saw Todoroki crack a smile. Granted it was small and only lasted a second. But still. Mr. Izuku sent a quick glare round the classroom, silencing everyone once more. Turning to me with a scowl he spoke, "If you sit down, I can tell you, and the rest of the class, where he is." My smile came back in an instant, nodding my head vigorously before walking, or skipping, to my desk. I couldn't help but notice my brother's confused stares. "Sure thing, Caterpillar," I respond as I plop myself onto my chair only to rearrange myself, so I'm sitting crisscross applesauce. I hear him growl and it takes everything in me not to recoil and hide. No matter what my mood is, it's hard to fight something that is written in my DNA. But I manage to do it, and what I do shocks everyone, even myself. I growl. At my teacher. At an alpha. Giggling right after I slap my hands over my mouth, eyes aflame with joy and mischief. I could physically feel the uneasiness in the classroom. Todoroki was the only one who still wasn't affected by my behavior in that way. One glance at him and I knew he was doing his best to stifle his laugh, let alone hide his smile. No wonder he's mateless. Look at him. No one wants a crazy Omega, Uraraka whispered to Iida. He nodded in agreement. Not many heard her, the ones who did either eyeing me or growling at Uraraka and the robotic blue-haired boy. I, undoubtedly, did hear them, and it was like a switch went off. My giggling came to a stop, drawing everyone's attention at the sudden silence. My face was void of any smile, looking straight forward with no particular emotion. It only made the class more uncomfortable, even Todoroki didn't like the sight of it. I heard Izuku say that both Uraraka and I had detention, but I didn't seem to full process it until the 5th time it was repeated. By a shouting Bakugo, I might add. Sensei Izuku then went on to explain that Mineta was expelled when being caught doing some inappropriate things with a trash can, and that Shinso will be transferred to the class. Most of the class made some gagging noises, others laughing. I didn't show much of a reaction, simply blinking as I glazed at the sensei, only to go back to staring at the wall. "Is Uraraka right?" I mean, I know I'm not mateless, that much is clear, but what if they don't want me? What if they reject me as their mate because of who I am? Sure, they're still my friends after discovering my behavior change, but maybe that's all they want to be. Nobody would want a crazy Omega as a mate, so they must not want me, right? Nah. Uraraka's just a beach. I wonder what it would feel like to rip out her throat. The bell for lunch rang and I was back to my giggling self. My smile bright enough to blind someone. I was fairly certain I was giving my classmates whiplash with my mood swings, but oh well. A few people came up to me before leaving to eat to ask if I was okay, to which I just giggled, nodded and said that I was fine. Todoroki and Kachin were the last ones to come up to me, making my smile grow. I had to force myself not to jump into their arms or just scream that we're mates. I was bouncing in my seat, not having gotten up for I still had to stay in for detention, looking up at them with a giggle. Hey Sho. Kachin. I greet happily. I tilt my head to the side upon seeing Todoroki's cheeks turn a light shade of a pink. Kachin also notices and snickers, elbowing his mate in the side to bring him back down to earth. Huh? Oh, right. We just wanted to tell you not to do anything stupid, he says, shaking his head and willing the blush away. I giggle again, pointing myself and looking at them with big innocent eyes. Who? Me? Trouble. Never. I respond before falling into another round of giggles. Millimeters. Let's not forget the last time you were like this. You poured rabbit blood all over 1B student, Kachin deadpans, shaking his head with a small smirk. Ha, I forgot about that, is all I say in response, smile still on my face. I giggled once again upon hearing Todoroki mumble. It was hilarious, remembering how much he laughed at the sight. He then cleared his throat, looking at me with a stern stare, or what looked like one. I could see the amusement in his eyes. So, no pouring blood on any of the students, he orders before pulling Kachin out of the classroom with him, just as Izuku comes back in as well. Okay then, I think with a giggle, I wouldn't put a single drop of blood on any student. My plan was almost ready. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my hand on any blood, so I got the next best thing. Glitter. The finest pink glitter I could get with such short notice. I planned on getting some revenge on Uraraka and have some fun while I was at it. The pink cheek beta was currently asleep with her head on the desk, and Mr. Izuku had left the classroom to go to the bathroom. Perfect. Working quickly, I got the bucket of pink glitter, positioning it on the top of the hug door. I had to borrow the leader from the supply closet. Hearing footsteps come towards the classroom, I rushed to put the leader back, and practically threw myself back onto my seat. The sound I made woke Uraraka woke up, just in time as well. The door slowly opened, and the tired pro hero couldn't even get 2 feet into the classroom, before he was covered in pink glitter. I forced a giggle backhand but on a shocked face, covering my mouth with a shaky hand. Unfortunately for a certain brunette, she found it more funny than shocking, erupting into giggles and drawing the blame towards her. The now angry pro stared at the laughing girl, shaking his head to get the mountain of glitter off. It took everything in me not to laugh, and it only got worse when Uraraka realized she was getting the blame. Uraraka, care to explain? He asked, his voice cold and hard. He clearly wasn't amused with the situation, his eyes becoming watery because of the glitter that was in them. I personally don't know how he's not screaming, and if he didn't get that glitter out, there could be some serious damage. Oops. What? I didn't do this. It was Deku. She yelled, pointing a finger at me. I turned my white eyes to Uraraka, planning on putting on another show in front of Mr. Izuku. Me? Uraraka-chan, why would you put the blame on me? First you slapped me, and now this, I respond, quiet at first and yelling at the end, fake salty tears rolling down my slightly chubby face. Izuku, reacting to the crying Omega even if he was annoyed at me, tried to defuse the situation. Unfortunately for him, Uraraka just had to open her big mouth. Are you serious? You're absolutely crazy. I feel bad for your mom. Oh, wait, she's dead. She spits. Ouch, well that hurt like hell. I didn't need to fake the tears anymore, my hands shaking at my side. Izuku was stunned into silence, and a look of regret flashed over my former friend's face before my abrupt laughter turns it into confusion. I didn't give her time to react, jumping to my feet before running at her, arms stretched towards her and fingernails turning into claws. No one has talked of my mother since she died, and no one has ever rubbed the fact that she was dead in my face. I didn't like it. I didn't like the person who did it. I wanted to kill them, to rip into their throat and feel the thick warm blood run down my chin. I growled when Izuku's scarf was wrapped around me, stopping me centimeters away from a now terrified and shaking beta. While Omegas were the weaker ones, when mad like this they could easily beat a beta. Uraraka knew this, and by the smell of it, it seems the fright had caused her to pee herself. Good. I thrashed and pulled against the scarf, growling and snapping my teeth at Uraraka. You're dead. Don't you dare talk about my mum with your filthy mouth. I screamed, my voice cracking with raw emotion before I erupted into a fit of uncontrollable giggles. They don't last long, however, my body soon shaking with violent sobs. I could hear my teacher yelling. I just couldn't process what exactly it was that he was saying. Soon enough I found myself wrapped a pair of warm arms, no longer restrained. I clung to the pro hero's shirt, my tears staining his glitter-covered clothes. I didn't hear the bell go, only the alarmed voices of my classmates. followed a series PF growls that were likely directed at Uraraka, who I could have sworn scoffed and said something about me overreacting. I stilled, my crying being replaced by a bitter chuckle. The class went silent, watching as I pull myself out of Izuku's warm embrace. I wiped my eyes, turning to face Uraraka. The whole class was facing me, a gap that allowed me to see Uraraka. Someone started to speak, stopping when I held up my hand. Overreacting, huh? I repeat, not giving the girl a chance to respond before continuing. Yeah, you're probably right, another bitter laugh. I mean, you did just say the truth. My mum is dead, has been for a while now I guess. Another flash of regret from Uraraka, though it didn't last long. And looks of pity of sympathy from everyone else. But how would you feel? How would you feel if the person most dear to you, more important than any friend, even your mate, suddenly dies? Disappears. Never to return. Never to tuck you in at night and tell you everything would be alright. Never to kiss you or give you homemade soup when sick. How would you feel if someone you thought was your friend rubbed that in your face? I speak, taking a step towards Uraraka every few seconds. Upon seeing her open her mouth, but no guilt in her eyes, I add, sure, I might not have been a very good friend, but that's just cruel. So how about you stop being a bitch, and acknowledge when you're going to fucking far, and with that I leave, ignoring the gasps from my language, and the calls of my name. I didn't go to my dorm room, knowing that if someone was sent after me, that would be the first place they look. So instead I made my way to the theater room. I wasn't crying anymore, but I wasn't smiling either. I didn't really know how I felt, my mood changing too fast for me to decide. But they were back, whispering, screaming. Voices, something I've had for a while but never get used to. I was actually stupid enough to hope they were gone once. Of course, they weren't, and now I'll never forget that. I just needed to let some steam out. If I learned anything since I started using that potion, it was bottling things and only made my mood swings more explosive. And because I couldn't exactly beat someone up or even better kill someone, I was going to do the next best thing, sing. I didn't waste any time, going straight to the stage, grabbing my acoustic guitar and taking my place behind the microphone. I closed my eyes, trying to clear my mind a bit before staring. When it doesn't work, I let out a breath and just start strumming the strings of my guitar and getting ready to sing another original, perfect for today. There are days when I feel on top of the world, and days when I'm not myself at all. There's a man in my head, he talks to me. He's telling me lies that I believe. Tears gather in my eyes once more, my fingers having their way with the guitar strings and my voice bouncing off the walls. And his voice is the thunder, and I keep falling under. I'm not who I wish to be, no, now I just want to break down, but I won't say it out loud. So how do I make you see? My head starts to clear up as I continue, a small smile forming as the tears fall down my already tear-stained freckled cheeks. I keep on hearing voices, they're questioning my choices. I lay awake, I can't sleep, no. Hearing voices, the cycles I try to break them, but I just can't seem to shake them. As I'm stuck in this routine. When I hear the voices say, you're not good enough, you should give up, you'll never find love. When I hear the voices say, I still hold on to hope so hopelessly, but don't see the love surrounding me. There's a light on the hill I try to reach, but every time the climb's too steep. The weight on my chest lifts, my foggy mood going with it. And his voice, like the thunder, keeps me falling under. I'm not who I wish to be. Now I just want to break down, but I won't say it out loud. So how do I make you see? I keep on hearing voices, they're questioning my choices. I lay awake, I can't sleep, no. Hearing voices, the cycles I try to break them, but I just can't seem to shake them. As I'm stuck in this routine. When I hear the voices say, you're not good enough, you should give up, you'll never find love. When I hear the voices say, the tears don't stop. The lyrics I wrote with my own hands reminding me of how sucky life can be. Happy child, just stay the same as you are. Happy child, don't change. Happy child, teach us to smile through the dark. Happy child, don't change like me. Cause I keep on hearing voices, they're questioning my choices. I lay awake, I can't sleep, no. Hearing voices, the cycles I try to break them, but I just can't seem to shake them. As I'm stuck in this routine. When I hear the voices say, you're not good enough, you should give up, you'll never find love. When I hear the voices, I'm hearing voices. When I hear the voices, I hear the voices say. When I hear the voices, I'm hearing voice say. Before I know it, I finish the song, letting out an airy laugh as I let my guitar hang round my body on the strap. Wow, I let out a yelp of surprise, quickly wiping the tears off my face, and spinning around to find the owner of the voice. Todoroki, I breath out, letting my body relax again. I hadn't even noticed him come in. My cheeks slowly turned red as I realized he'd heard me sing, and one of my own songs at that. I apologize if I scared you, Midoriya, the taller boy spoke, walking up to the stage. I give him a smile as I put my guitar back. Don't be. But, how'd you find me? I asked shyly, rubbing the back of my neck and taking a seat on one of the large speakers. Mr. Izuku sent me to look for you. When you weren't at your dorm, I looked around the school before hearing someone singing. I came here and found you. You're really good, by the way, and was it an original? He asks, clearly impressed. I feel my cheeks heat up more and amusement dances in his eyes. Yeah, it was. All the songs I sing are, I answer, gazing at the floor with a small smile. He hums thoughtfully, now standing in front of me. You should join Bakugo and I. My eyes go wide, head shooting so fast it causes me to wince. What? I almost shout, the shock shown clearly on my face. It may seem as if I'm overreacting a bit, but trust me when I say that I'm not. Todoroki's and Bakugo's little band, or Firefly, as they're known as, is almost impossible to get into. Despite only having 2 members and clearly needing more, they haven't accepted anyone. 26 auditions yet not a single new member. He simply nods his head, running a hand through his two-toned hair. You've certainly got the talent, plus you can write, so that's a bonus. There's also the fact that Katsuki and I actually like you, he responds, looking down at me with his used blank expression. Holy fuck, I mumble to myself, looking down at the ground, green eyes still wide. Apparently, Todoroki doesn't like my new habit of swearing, for his eyes narrow, and he growls out, "Lang." I let out a nervous laugh, looking up at him once more. Sorry Toto, I say sheepishly. He hums in response, seemingly satisfied. It's quiet for a moment before he speaks again. So, what do you say? I glance away for a second, thinking. It could be risky, and I'd have to spray myself some more, but it sounds fun, and I probably won't get a better excuse to hang out with them without drawing suspicion. As long as I'm careful, I should be able to do this, even if it means spraying myself more. Ignoring the consequences, I smile, stand up, and say, I'd love to join Firefly Toto, thank you so much. I'm almost sad when I don't start crying. Stupid, right? I guess it just reminded me that I'm not the same anymore. I don't think I will ever be back to my old self. And I'm not sure I'll ever be okay with that. After I thanked Todoroki, we had talked for a bit before he left to go back to class, giving me instructions to go to my dorm room. I was grateful when he didn't ask if I was okay. I didn't want to have to lie to him anymore than I already have. I made my way into the cafeteria, already done with today. President Mick's voice still rang in my ears from when he was teaching us English. I was so damn close to ripping his vocal cords out. Unfortunately, the bell rang before I could get my lazy self up from my desk. As I started walking towards my lunch table, whispers arose around me. I didn't catch many, but the ones I did had my blood boiling. I heard he pays people to sleep with him. Midoriya. Yeah, Uraraka said something about him sleeping with other people's mates. What a slut. Someone told me that he hurts himself. Apparently his mates rejected him because he refused to stop sleeping with other people. I stare a glaze around the spacious room, both my brothers and mates coming towards me with worried looks. My eye twitches as I realize just about everyone was whispering, only a few handfuls of people trying to defuse the situation. Walking fast so no one can stop me, I go up to my lunch table, finding both Iida and Uraraka talking to each other. Hey, Uraraka-chan. I greet, big smile on my face. Whether it's fake or not is irrelevant. With an annoyed huff she turns to face me, glaring as she speaks, with Deku. I let my smile fall by some, putting a hand over my heart in an overly dramatic way. Ouch. And here I was just coming to tell you that I'm proud of you. Her face morphed into a confused one. It does it a lot. Poor girl. You're proud. For what? By now the whole room was listening and the ones that were beginning to. Todoroki, Bakugo, Kiri and Denki behind me now, looking ready to pounce on me if I tried anything stupid. Silly bean. I'm proud that you're spreading something other than your legs for once. There was a beat of silence before the room erupts into laughter. All but Todoroki, of course. I swear, he'd be the king to try not to laugh. Her whole face goes red, and she turns her glare onto Iida, who immediately stops laughing. Spinning around to look at me again, she stammers, yeah. Says you, paying people to sleep with you. I'm not the slut, you are. The cafeteria falls into silence again, only a few snickers coming out of people from Uraraka's comeback. I roll my eyes, folding my arms over my chest as I speak, says the one sleeping Iida, even though you both already have mates. Both their eyes go wide, laughter replaced by growls. Cheating on a mate was a big no-no. It physically hurts to be cheated on by a mate. And in extreme cases it can even lead to suicide. You're just jealous. She shouts, her face as red as Kirishima's hair. I'm jealous of people who don't know you, I shoot back, snickers and chuckles going around once again. Yeah, well, at least I parents. Silence. It takes everything in me not to pounce on her. The only thing stopping me bung a hand of one of my mates on one shoulder, and a brother's on the other. And I couldn't feel any worse for them. I scream at her, watching her face somehow get darker. I'd slap you, but that would be animal abuse. We're both screaming now, my face red out of anger, and her embarrassment. If ugly were crime you'd have a life sentence. Well, you're fat. She stutters, clearly running out of comebacks. It'd be lying if I said that didn't hurt though. I'm already starving myself, what more can I do? I can lose weight, but you'd still be a self-absorbed Barbie doll. You're just a stupid Omega. And yet I'm still stronger than you. Looking like she's had enough, she stands up, looking down at me with a glare. I could see her flinch when the 3 alphas behind me growl, along with the beta. She doesn't stand down, however, taking a step towards me. I shake off the hands on my shoulders, letting out a growl of my own. She returns it. We're standing face to face now, even if I must look up just a bit. No one tries to get between us, it would be suicidal. When I growled at her, she took it as a challenge, and when she growled back, so did I. Add those two up, and it means we're currently challenging each other, seeing who is the stronger one. If Uraraka was at the very least an average beta, I wouldn't stand a chance. However, due to the fact that Uraraka is the weakest beta around, it's a 50-50 chance to who will win. My growl grows louder as does hers. I flinch back, my growl going quiet again. Pride fills her eyes as she sees me flinch. I try to make my growl go louder, but all I could hear was the whispers. Weak, useless, such a Deku, ugly, fat, loser. My growl quickly turns into a whimper, my head bowing in submission as I sign of defeat. I hear her laugh, scoffing at me before speaking with venom. See, just a weak stupid Omega. Why don't you do everyone a favor and go die? Tears build in my eyes but are gone in an instant. I lift my head up, a large smile on my face and a giggle escaping my lips. The huge room, which had filled up with growls, went silent, everyone staring at me. My eye twitched as I continued to laugh, clutching my stomach as I struggled to breath. Is he okay? Maybe he really is crazy. What the hell is wrong with him? It's scaring me. I was all too aware of the whispers going around, doing my best to ignore them, knowing that there is no way in hell people think I'm normal now. What the hell is wrong with you? Uraraka screamed, my laughter abruptly coming to a stop along with the whispers. The bell rings but no one moves, everyone frozen to their spot as they listen to the screaming match. What's wrong with me? You just fucking told me to kill myself, and you want to know what's wrong with me. I feel a hand being placed on each shoulder, but immediately shake it off. You don't think I've tried you? I cut myself off, ignoring the gasps from my remark, and squeezing my eyes shut with a sigh before letting out an empty chuckle. No. I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of seeing me break down. You're not worth it, I say calmly, opening my eyes to stare at the angry beta. She puffs out her cheeks, looking away from me with a scowl. I roll my eyes before, like a switch going off, I'm smiling again, turning around to face my two worried brothers and angry mates. Crap. Pushing that aside for later, I shout in a cheerful voice, right. Show's over. If you would all please leave and go to class before I somehow end up with getting the blame for all the students in the school being a quick look at my watch, 5 minutes late. I giggle as all the students up and leave in a hurry, tripping over each other in a struggle to make it out of the cafeteria. Come on deck. Kachin starts to speak, however I tune him out when I hear Uraraka mumble something. Crazy bitch. I spin around, fist meeting Uraraka's fake ass face. What's your fucking language, bitch? I giggle as she falls onto the dirty floor. Just where she belongs. You should take your own advice, Midoriya, I hear Todoroki warn, earning a giggle from me. Will do. Gotta go now. Is all I say before skipping away. I could hear them talking to each other as I left. Are we not going to address what just happened? Kirishima, or how he's tried to kill himself? Kachin, we will, we just need to be smart about it, Todoroki. Oh guys, are we just going to ignore Uraraka's unconscious body? Okay then, Kaminari. It's been a week since I punched Uraraka. We don't talk to each other anymore, in fact, no one really talks to me anymore. They act like I'm a ticking time bomb, and each time my mood changes they all flinch away. I think news about why Uraraka was out for 3 days spread around. On the bright side, however, I made a new friend. Shinso. He's actually quite cool. And he doesn't care that I have a few loose screws. I introduced him to Denki and Kiri. He thought they were weird at first, but now they're best of buddies, not that he'd admit that though. Todoroki and Kachin were already friends with him. Well, Todoroki was at least, Kachin not so much. All 5 of them tried to get me to open up, talk about how and why I tried to kill myself among other things. Keyword being tried. Each time the topic would come up I would walk off or pretend I didn't hear them. Either that or I would just swear over and over again. That however stopped when Todoroki found out. He made me write lines. Fudging lines. Eventually they gave up, letting me open up when I'm ready. 3 of the 2 still don't know I hurt myself, Kiri and Kami, keeping it a secret like promised. They both warned me however that it wouldn't take them long to figure it out. I already knew this though, they're not idiots. Sadly. Currently, I was trying to convince the 2 alphas to let my other 3 friends join the band. It wasn't going well. I said no, Kachin repeated, him being the only one to speak this whole time. We were in the theater room, rehearsing for our weekly show at the cafe down the road. It was my first show and I was ecstatic, however, I really wanted my friends to join the band, and I wasn't going to give up easily. Why not? I pouted, picking up the microphone. Because they're fucking idiots, he answered, already sitting behind his drums. How come he's allowed to swear? I whine to Todoroki, when all I receive is an unamused look, I go back to whining at Kachin. They're your friends. Correction, 2 of them are. And that doesn't mean they have any talent. They do though. Kiri and Kami are amazing with the bass guitar, or any guitar for that matter, and Shinso is really good with the keyboard or piano, plus he can sing. They all can. 2 just don't like to. He lets out an annoyed groan, looking over at mate before turning back to me saying, fine, ask icy hot. I turn my puppy eyes to Todoroki, who smiles and shakes his head. Sure, why not? Tonight, we go to our gig, and tomorrow we'll hold auditions for them. I clap my hands together with a giggle, poking my tongue out at Kachin who was glaring daggers at an oblivious Todoroki. TCH, whatever, can we just start now? He grumbles, making both Todoroki and I laugh. After rehearsal we all go out separate ways. Todoroki asked if anyone wanted to go get a drink, but I turned down the offer, the spray that hides the mate bond needing to be reapplied. It'd be lying if I said that me spraying myself more often wasn't affecting me. Kachin also declined the offer, something about needing to study. Upon entering my dorm room, I pull up my sleeve to see the many cuts on my wrist. And they're healing fast. That won't do, I mumbled to myself with a giggle. I haven't done any major cutting since being caught by Kami and Kiri, but I never stopped. I don't think I would be able to anymore. It's just too addicting. There's something about the pain, the way my blood seeps from the cuts and runs down my arm. It's just so thrilling. I lock the door before grabbing my knife. Letting out an exited giggle, I skip over to my bed and sit down, rolling up both my sleeves as fast as I can. I clench my knife in my hand before relaxing and pressing it against the skin of my wrist. I watch as it slices upon a healing cut, the blood collecting before it spills over. I don't stop there, giggling as I quickly run my knife all over my flesh. 1, 2, 4, 10, 13, 20, 26, 30. I watch the blood drip down onto the floor, my arm shaking slightly due to the pain, but a large smile on my face. Next arm. I giggle. It's 6 o'clock when I hear a knock at my door, followed by the painfully soothing voice of one of my mates. Or, Deku, why is the door locked? Hurry up and fucking let me in. I roll my eyes at how impatient he is, and quickly finish up cleaning the blood, leaving no evidence. Coming Kachin. I say, spraying myself some more before opening the door, revealing an annoyed-looking Kachin and bored Todoroki. Why was the dew is that blood I smell? Kachin asks, eyes narrowing as the scent of my blood fills his nose. What? You must be imagining a Kachin, I lie with a nervous smile. Nope, I can smell it to Midoriya, Todoroki cuts in, his eyes also narrowed. My face pales slightly before I giggle and rub the back of my neck. Oh yeah. I stubbed my toe earlier. All good now though. I lie half-heartedly, too lazy to come up with a better story. They both hum, clearly not believing me, but letting the subject drop for now. So why are you guys here? I ask, earning me 2 eye rolls. Our show nerd, it starts in 30 minutes. Kachin informs me, impatiently shifting from one foot to the other. My eyes go wide, having no idea how I forgot about the one thing I've been looking forward to for a while. Fuck, I whisper, slamming the door shut and rushing to get dressed. Language. I hear Todoroki shout from outside my room. I say a quick sorry before ripping my clothes off my body. I try not to look at myself in the mirror, knowing what it is that I'll see. If you asked anybody besides me, they'd say I'm skinny, good-looking guy with a soft feminine body. But if you asked me, I'd say I'm a fat ugly loser that nobody would want. That or I'm a gorgeous motherfucking queen that deserves the world. There's no in between. Either or. I throw on a cropped hoodie that says, Queen in some ripped skinny jeans. I hurry to put on some white shoes before throwing the door open, smile on my face. I'm ready. I say happily, a blush spreading across my face as both of them scan my body. I take the time to look over both of them as well. Todoroki was wearing a simple white shirt with a black jacket and black jeans, while Kachin was wearing the exact same, only opposite colors. Both of them looked amazing, as usual. I'm guessing the teachers know. I stutter, snapping the pair out of whatever trance they were in. Huh? They both say, making me giggle and shake my head. Oh, yeah they do. Come on, let's go now, Todoroki speaks. I giggle again upon seeing his cheeks turn a light shade of pink, confusion in his eyes as he starts thinking to himself. As I walk in front of him, I hear him ask Kachin something that almost makes my heart to stop. You don't think he? No way, we'd feel the bond. I need to be more careful. If they find out, no, they won't find out, they can't. The walk to the cafe so far was silent on my end, thoughts plaguing my mind. Kachin and Todoroki were arguing about something. I think it was about whether cats or dogs were better. I roll my eyes and stop walking, turning around to face them. They both stop as well, giving me their attention. Isn't it obvious? They're both awesome, you'd have to be crazy just to choose one. I scold with a frown, giggling when they start to protest. I turn back around and start walking, sticking my fingers in my ears and chanting, la la la, I can't hear you. Forcing the worrying thoughts away. I was giggling the rest of the way there, listening to Todoroki and Kachin, as they tried to pull me over to their sides. It didn't work, my opinion staying on that they're both awesome. When we finally got to the cafe, they were still arguing. I shake my head and throw over my shoulder, guys, we're here, just agree to disagree or something, because if you keep arguing, I'm going to cut both your tongues off. I giggle at the 2 shocked expressions I get a glimpse of. Thankfully they stop, silently walking up onto the stage with me. I was almost jumping up and down due to my excitement, a blush spreading across my face when I see Todo's and Kachin's amused stares. The cafe already had everything we needed, to which I was extremely grateful for. I didn't exactly feel like carrying anything on the walk here. The owner jumped onto the stage, a middle-aged woman with long brown hair, said something to Todoroki who just nodded his head, before walking to the microphone and started talking to her customers. Looking at all the people for the first time, my excitement turns into fright, sweat immediately gathering on my forehead. Kachin puts a hand on my shoulder, making me take a sharp inhale of air that I hope he chalks up to nerves. Don't be nervous, nerd. They'll love you, he says before smirking. And if they don't, I'll blow them all up. I roll my eyes with a giggle, mumbling a thanks before he walks off and takes his place behind the drum set. Todoroki hands me a guitar, already having one himself, before he walks up to the microphone, owner now gone. He's right, you know. They'll love you, he says to me, looking over his shoulder so he can see me. I give him a smile, putting the guitar strap around my body before hesitantly stepping forwards, taking my place next to him. Ladies and gentlemen, Firefly. The owner shouts, handing me the microphone as the people cheer, excited for the small weekly show. We all share a look before starting, the cafe falling into silence save for the occasional cheers. Bakugo, Todoroki, Midoriya. Oh, people say I'm indecisive. I am, I'm not. If one day I hate it, then the next I'll probably like it. Do I feel like being alone or with all of my friends? Fuck, I don't know if I should say or if I should go. The cafe hangs onto every word, not taking it long for them to realize it was an original, and all of them curious to what the new person voice sounds like. My nerves make my hands shake, but it would be a lie to say listening to my mate sing wasn't soothing. I don't have the answers you need, cause I live in the in-between. So if you put your bets on me, you better be down for anything. Upon hearing my voice, the cafe cheers, a smile appearing on my face as my nerves slowly disappearing. Yes and no. Wait, I don't know. I think I'm dying. Hold up, I'm invincible. Yeah, I'm like yes, yes, and no, no. Wait, I don't know. I'll pull you closer into to me, and I'm pushing you away. Cause I'm like yes and no. Wait, I don't know. K and no. I think I'm dying. Hold up, I'm invincible. Ether. Yeah, I'm like yes, yes, and no, no. Wait, I don't know. I'll pull you closer into me, and I'm pushing you away. Our voices all mixed together, suiting each other perfectly as we sing our own parts. By now all my nerves are gone, a smile on my face as I look out at the customers of the cafe. Don't know if I'm feeling happy, no. I'm kinda confused, I'm not in the mood to try and fix me. Do I feel like being alone or with all of my friends? Fuck, I don't know, fuck I don't know. If I should say or if I should go, I don't have the answers you need, cause I live in the in-between, haha. I let myself become lost in out music and the cheers of the crowd, all thoughts leaving me as I sing with my mates. Cause I'm like yes and no. Wait, I don't know. I think I'm dying. Hold up, I'm invincible. Yeah, I'm like yes, yes, and no, no. Wait, I don't know. I'll pull you closer into to me, and I'm pushing you away. Cause I'm like yes and no. Wait, I don't know. K and no. I think I'm dying. Hold up, I'm invincible. Ether. Yeah, I'm like yes, yes, and no, no. Wait, I don't know. I'll pull you closer into me, and I'm pushing you away. I think I'm dying. Hold up, I'm invincible. Yes, no. I pull you closer into me, and I'm pushing you away. Cause I'm like yes, yes, and no, no. Wait, I don't know. K and no. I think I'm dying. Hold up, I'm invincible. Ether. Yeah, I'm like yes and no. Wait, I don't know. I pull you closer into to me, and I'm pushing you away. As we finish the song, the cafe erupts into cheers louder than before. The giggle leaves me as I look at Toto and Kachin, childlike smile on my face. Told you, Kachin says with a smile of his own before he gives us the signal to start the next song. By the time we're done an hour and a half had passed, and I was just about ready to leave. We only sang a few originals, the rest being covers. It's not as fun as singing my own work, but I didn't want to sing all my songs tonight, so it was the next best thing. It was still fun nonetheless, and the only reason I actually wanted to leave was due to the annoying fact that the spray would wear off in about 30 minutes. And I don't really need that happening. Not now, not ever. Can we go yet? I whined for the 100th time, hearing myself an annoyed groan from Kachin, and an amused chuckle from Toto. Yes, yes, we can leave now, Midoriya. The bi-colored boy answers, putting his half-empty drink down before standing up. Finally, I groaned, not even waiting before I turn around and walk out of the cafe. Wait up, nerd. Kachin shouts, however his attempts are futile, for once I'm out of the cafe I immediately start walking down the street. I couldn't risk the spray wearing off and having them feel the mate bond. No matter how much I want to, I can't risk my auntie's life for my own selfish desires. I think I took a wrong turn somewhere because next thing I know I'm in a dark alleyway, scratching the back of my head while pouting. Crap, I'm going to be in so much trouble, I mumbled to myself before hearing someone giggle. I tilt my head, watching as a blonde-haired girl skips out of the shadows. Boo. I smell blood. She giggles, walking up to me with a crazed smile. I tilt my head to the side, eyebrow raised as I speak. Well, I'm no genius, but that may be because you have blood all over your clothes. I gestured to her clothes, which were in fact covered in blood, dried and fresh alike. I was scared to say the least, however, I wasn't scared of the girl in front of me. No. I was more scared of the fact that I didn't care where the blood came from. I was scared of myself, something I've been for a while. She giggles in response before licking her blood-covered lips, closing her eyes in delight before opening them again, confused. You're not scared of me? Don't you go to UA or something? Yak no, hero in training or some shit? The girl questioned, scratching the back of her blonde hair. Scared of you? I repeat, earning nod. Nah, I'm more scared for you. That blood looks impossible to get out, I say with a small giggle, eyeing her clothes once again. Please, this is nothing. Besides, I'm a girl, we're pros at getting rid of blood stains. the blonde exclaims proudly. However, my face only morphs into one of confusion. Pros. I'll have to ask for some tips in the future then. I think with a laugh, even though I still didn't know why or how girls are pros at removing bloodstains. She giggles at my confused state, thrusting her hand out towards me. I'm Himiko Toga. What's your name? She asks brightly. Toga, where have I heard that name before? Pushing the thought aside, I go to shake her hand only to stop when I realize she's holding a knife. I roll my eyes with a giggle as she pouts and lets her arm drop. I'm Midoriya Izuku. But you can call me Deku. And do I can holy crap. You Uraraka's mate. I shout in realization, watching her scowl and take a step away from me. Oops, much be a touchy subject. Oh well, you're not friends with her, are you? She asks, her eyes narrowing as she suddenly turns serious. Aw. I like the other version of her more. Well, I did punch her a while ago, so no. I ask in return, giggling as I remember how good it felt to punch the bitch. The blonde stared at me for a moment before letting her serious facade fall, giggling as she reaches into my pocket and steals my phone. I like you. She declares with a smile, typing something into my phone. What you doing? I ask, sitting down on the ground in front of her. She glances down at me with an eyebrow raised before shrugging, as if to say fuck it, and sits down on the filthy ground in front of me. Putting my number in your phone, Deku-kun. She answers before handing my phone back to me. I look down at it and see that she had saved her contact as Hot Psycho. I roll my eyes for what feels like the 30th time before I hear someone shouting in the distance. Deku, goddammit, where are you? Catching. I look at my new friend as she gets to her feet, still smiling. Well, that's my cue. Can't have anybody else seeing me just yet. Bye, Deku-kun, she says, waving. I simply wait back, giggling as she skips away. Before she blends into the shadows, I hear her say, make sure to give Uraraka another punch for me. 5 minutes pass before Todoroki and Bakugo find me sitting on the ground in the alleyway. And let me say, they do not look happy. There you are, nerd. Kachin yells, his voice showing anger but eyes holding anger. Completely ignoring his mood, I smile and wave at the two, giggling as I speak. He show. Kachin. I hear Todoroki sigh before he crouches in front of me, looking stressed, but catching onto my mood change quickly. Are you hurt? He asks, receiving a shake of my head and a nope. But I did make a new friend. This spikes Kachin's attention, who immediately crouches in front of me next to his mate, instead of kicking at the wall while swearing. Friend? Who? He asks, narrowing his eyes as Todoroki quickly scans his eyes around the area. I could sense that they were worried, I just wasn't sure why. Can't tell ya, I say with a shrug and a giggle, only to yelp when Kachin roughly grabbed my wrist and demanded, damn it, nerd, just tell me who it was. I whimper and shrink back, scared of Kachin for the first time in a while. Seeing this, Todoroki pries my wrist out of his mate's hand before speaking softly to the ash blonde. Calm down, you're scaring him. Bakugo immediately looked regretful, not liking that he scared a friend, an Omega and his mate. Even if he didn't know that I was his mate, his subconscious did. Deku, he was cut off by my giggling, his eyebrows furrowing in confusion. It's fine. But can we go back now? I ask with a smile, looking at the two amused and slightly confused alphas. Let's go, Toto says before standing up, helping both Kachin and I to our feet before we all start to head off, the two alphas making sure I don't run off again. I needed to get back soon, before the spray wears off. I could have screamed in delight when we got back to the dorms with 5 minutes to spare. In fact, I did. Right before running off to the safety of my dorm room, leaving behind two confused alphas. Looking my door, I let out an airy chuckle. That was close, I whispered to myself. What was close? I spin around, a yelp leaving my throat before I can stop it. That was hilarious, a familiar voice whispered in my head, making me roll my eyes before I fold my arms against my chest, pouting. Shinzo. What have I told you about sneaking into people's rooms? I complained to the purple-haired boy, hearing him chuckle as I throw myself onto my bed. He said people would think I'm crazy, but given your current mental state, I don't think your advice is the best. Besides, there's nothing wrong with breaking into someone's room, the sleep-deprived teen responds, letting his body fall onto the bed so he's no longer sitting. Okay, firstly, my mental state is the reason I have great advice. I only receive a sarcastic humming response. With a huff, I continue, and secondly, if you think there is nothing wrong with breaking into someone's room, well then, you've officially become my best friend. I cheer with a giggle, clapping my hands together as I sit back up and watch him get comfortable on my bed. Why are you in here anyway? I ask, snatching the pillow that his head was resting on so I could cuddle with it. He fixes a short glare on me before using one of the other pillows. Think he threw a coconut at me, the cat lover says with a shrug, and I can't help the laugh that escapes me. Let me guess, you said onions are the only food that make people cry. I ask with a giggle. He only groans in response, rolling over and shoving his face in my pillow. His voice is muffled as he speaks, and then, he tried to charge me. I do my best to stifle my laugh as he turns his head, pout on his face. He what? I ask, small giggles already leaving me as I try to understand the situation. He claimed I wasn't energetic enough, so he shoved a charger in my mouth, then proceeded to electrocute me. Instead of asking if he was okay like a good friend would do or why he was in Denki's room in the first place, I clutched my stomach as I erupted into laughter. I end up falling off the bed, my laughing replaced with groaning. Shinso's head comes into my view, an annoyed look on his face. You done yet? I look up at him, a grin slowly spreading across my freckled face. No, is all I say before I'm laughing again. In response, he groans in annoyance and throws a pillow at me. Shinso didn't end up leaving until well past midnight, claiming that he couldn't sleep and knew I wouldn't have been able to either. He wasn't wrong though, I'm lucky to get at the very least an hour's sleep these days. I ended up telling Shinso about Toga, and when he started to protest the idea of being her friend, I distracted him by telling him about the auditions that were being held after class tomorrow, or I guess today now. When he finally left, I closed the door behind him and collapsed onto my desk, musing myself with homework and songwriting. I don't know how much passed, but the next time I looked up at the clock, it read 9:30 AM. Late. Again. And no one even tried to get me this time. I guess they're finally learning. Though it's a bit concerning that it took me throwing glitter on multiple people for them to stop. Not that I'm complaining, it's quite entertaining to see how they all react. I rub at my sore eyes before slapping myself. Will you? Works like a charm. I exclaim loudly, shaking my head as a dull ache spreads all over my now red cheek. I lazily throw my uniform on, not bothering with the tie and simply slinging it around my neck. Checking my phone, I look over my messages, smiling to myself when I see a few, all from Toga. Ha, I thought for sure she wouldn't text you, a particularly persistent voice whispers to me as I open the message. Told you that you were wrong, I respond, barely aware of the fact that I was talking to myself. This proves she's as crazy as you, it retorts. And what's wrong with that? I counter with a smirk, taking a cereal bar from the kitchen before leaving. Touché, just see what she texted, why don't you Deku? I giggle and roll my eyes but do as told, my eyes skimming over the words. Hot Psycho Deku-kun, I'm bored, let's rob a bank. Hot Psycho Sauce forgot you are a hero or whatever. Hot Psycho, are you guys allowed to kidnap people? Hot Psycho, if so that sounds like fun. Hot Psycho, answer me. Hot Psycho, I need attention. Shaggy is playing video games with Dobby, and Courier's booing. It goes on like this for a while, her texts making me giggle. Her most recent one reads, oh? I know. Let's go to the beach. I let a pout take over my face, walking into the classroom without so much as a spare glaze, as I type my reply. Can't in class 99. I look up from my phone, finding no teacher in the room and all eyes on me. Like usual. Hey guys. I say happily, pow gone in an instant as I giggle and wave at my classmates, only to wipe my face clean and get back to texting. So Skip. Come on Deku-kun, school is boring. Before I can type my reply, Ida is standing in front of me while doing his best to be a robot. He goes on to scold me about using my phone in class, throwing in some unnecessary comments in there as he goes, before he's interrupted by my excited giggle. Look. I can do it too. I squeal before copying his arm movement, only to shove past him with a scowl. Now piss off Sonic. I roll my eyes at the gasp and snickers, happy when I don't hear Todoroki try to reprimand me for my language. Once sitting, I place my feet on the desk simply to annoy the blue robot and type my reply. Broccoli boy school and I know it's boring, however if I stop going, well I might end up like you. Hot Psycho, haha, very funny. Hot Psycho, well, seeming that you don't want to hang out with me, I'll just have to go and find a new best friend. Broccoli boy K. Is all I text back before closing my phone. When I look up I'm consuted to see that Todoroki was now beside me, Kiri behind, Kami next to him, and Shiso also close by. When the fuck did they get there? That's what I'd like to know, I respond before I can stop myself, quickly looking out the window when 5 sets of eyes are placed on me. Oops, can't have people thinking you're hearing voices now, can you Deku? I narrow my eyes but keep my mouth shut, knowing that my 5 friends were all watching me now. It really wouldn't be good if they realize I hear voices though. Or that I talk to them like we're best buddies. Soon enough the 5 look away and start talking again, no longer looking or listening to me. I don't pay attention, looking out the window as I do my best to not latch onto one, if not both, of my mates. This is going to be a long day for you, I heard the deep voice chuckle. I only sigh and throw my head back, silently agreeing. The rest of the day passed by in a painfully slow manner. Todoroki and Bakugo made it a point to sit next to me in every class, even during Gym Gamma when they wouldn't leave my side. I need to make sure they don't suspect me as their mate. The very thought of that has me both overjoyed and terrified. I didn't even have a peaceful lunch break. Before I could so much as stand up from my desk I was being surrounded by a group of morons. Scotch tape, laser navel, pink furry and floating clothes. They all bombarded me with questions, most of them being as to why I had punched Uraraka a while ago, or if I was okay. When they wouldn't accept my answers nor leave me alone, I may or may not have punched 1 or 2 in the face. Who's to say? Innocent until proven guilty, so I'm innocent. For now, at least. When I finally made it to the cafeteria, I took one look at all the people, shook my head, said, nope, and went running for my dorm room, spending the remainder of my lunchtime texting Toga. We're planning on going together tomorrow for I don't have school. When lunch was over I went back to doing my best not to out myself to my mates. All I wanted to do when school was finished to crawl in bed and hide from the world, that or punch someone in the face. Again. Instead I had the auditions to go to. Which also meant I had to spend more time with my mates. Don't get me wrong, I love spending time with them. But the more time I spend with them, the more comfortable I get. And the more comfortable I get, the lower my guard becomes. Long story short, I might end up revealing that I'm their mate, which for the 100th time cannot happen. Sitting on the floor in the theater room, I narrow my eyes and start stabbing the ground with my blade, scowl evident on my face. Hey, Deku, I hear Denki speak. When I look up, I see 5 wolves all eyeing me curiously, obviously nervous as well. I don't miss the amusement in Todoroki's eyes. Ha, yeah. I ask in return, tilting my head to the side as I pull the knife out of the wooden floor, face as innocent as a puppy's. How the hell does he do that? I hear Shinso ask Carrie in what I think is supposed to be a whisper. I don't know, but it's scary. Ignoring them, Kachin speaks up. Hey what the fuck did the floor do to you? Todoroki elbows him for the language, but he just shakes it off, turning his head to look at Denki as he speaks. Forget the floor. Where the hell did he get that knife from? Everyone looks at me again, eyebrows raised as they realize I didn't enter the room with the knife. I smile, waving at them with the knife in my hand, almost stabbing my eye out in the process. Careful. They all yell before they try to get the knife at me. All attempts result in either a hiss or growl coming from me. They keep trying, well, all but Todoroki, who simply walks forward, crouches in front of me, and shows me his hand in a silent order. I pout, but comply, dropping the knife onto his hand. Is silent as he walks back. At least for a while before Denki and Kiri start shouting at him, even Shinso expresses his annoyance in a way. Oi. Shut the hell up. Guess who said that? I'll give you 3 guesses, and the answer is, Kachin. After everyone settled down, Denki, Shinso and Kirishima were told to get the music sheets off me, then warm up for 10 minutes. That's all the time they got to memorize the lyrics and notes before they had to perform. Bit unfair if you ask me, but oh well. I was currently sitting in the audience, a fair distance away from my mates, so I can actually pay attention. The 2 alphas of mine were sitting together in the front row, glancing over at me every once in a while to make sure I was okay. I was having fun playing with another knife that I had found in the floorboards. Time's up. Kachin yells, setting off a small explosion to get the other 3's attention. I put the knife down and watch as my 3 other friends say some words to each other before they get into their places. They all had a microphone, Denki and Kirishima both using guitars while Shinso played the keyboard. Shinso was the first to sing, and a small giggle came out of me as I took in Bakugo's shocked expression. Shinso, Denki, Kiri, and if 2 of the singers sing together their effect will be combined. I think it's so cute and I think it's so sweet. How you let your friends encourage you to try and talk to me. But let me stop you there, before you speak. Nada the no, my name is no, my sign is no, my number is no, you need to let it go, you need to let it go, need to let it go. Even I was surprised at how Denki was able to get his voice like that, even if he used some tech stuff to help him. Nada the no. First you gonna say you ain't running game, thinking I'm believing every word. Call me beautiful, so original. Telling me you're not like other girls. I was in my zone before you came along, now I'm thinking maybe you should go. Blah, 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 blah. I'd be like nada the I, to the no. All my fellas listen up. If that girl ain't giving up, lick your lips and swing your hips. Girl, all you gotta say is, their voices along with the instruments bounce off the walls, filling out ears and bringing a smile to all our faces. My name is no, my sign is no, my number is no, you need to let it go, you need to let it go, need to let it go. Nada the no. My name is no, my sign is no, my number is no, you need to let it go, you need to let it go, need to let it go, nada the no. The familiar words fill my mind, reminding me of when Shinso and I wrote the song. Thank you in advance, I don't wanna dance. I don't need your hands all over me. If I want a girl, then I'ma get a girl. But it's never my priority. I was in my zone, before you came along. Don't want you to take this personal. Blah, blah, blah. I'd be like nada the no. All my fellas listen up. If that girl ain't giving up, lick your lips and swing your hips. Man, all you gotta say is, my name is no, my sign is no, my number is no, you need to let it go, you need to let it go, need to let it go. Nada the no. My name is no, my sign is no, my number is no, you need to let it go, you need to let it go, need to let it go. Nada the no. I'm feeling untouchable. I'm feeling untouchable. I'm feeling untouchable. Nada the no. I'm feeling untouchable. I'm feeling untouchable. I'm feeling untouchable. Nada the no. All my fellas listen up. If that girl ain't giving up, lick your lips and swing your hips. Man, all you gotta say is, my name is no, my sign is no, my number is no, you need to let it go, you need to let it go, need to let it go. Nada the no. My name is no, my sign is no, my number is no, you need to let it go, you need to let it go, need to let it go. Nada the no. The song comes to an end and the whole room is silent. That is before Kachin says quietly, well fuck, I was kinda hoping you were bad. Long story short, despite Bakugo's whining, Kiri, Shinso and Kami all got into our band, adding some much needed members. Denki invited everyone for drinks, but Bakugo and Todoroki declined. When asked why, they answered with, "We're doing some more searching for out, mate." To which I responded with a nervous chuckle before running off. Not suspicions of alright. I groaned as I walked back to my dorm room, hoping they'll just write it off as me being tired. I'm about to open my door before I freeze in my tracks. There, on my door is a knot, signed by the very person keeping me from my mates. I let out what I think is a growl mixed with a whine as I grab the note, walk into my room and slam the door shut. I lean my back against the door, slowly sliding down onto the floor before reading the note. "Careful there, Deku, the way you're going you and will be dead in no time." Doesn't that suck? Can't seem to do anything right, can you, Deku? The voice taunts me, making the unshed tears fall down my face. "Shut up," I whisper as I clench my fist, crumpling the note. "Why don't you just let her die? You won't be able to save her, just like you couldn't save your mother." I said shut up. I screamed, banging my head against the door a little too hard. My vision is blurry for a moment before all I see is black, the last words I hear belonging to the annoying voice in my head. "There you go again, messing everything up." When I come to again, it was almost midnight. I stayed down on the ground for a while, glaring at the ceiling as if it was the source of all my problems. I had to be more careful. I will not be the reason my only family left eyes. I can't let that happen. And if that means spending more time away from my mates, so be it. Oh, how I wish I could just go after the bitch that keeps hurting my aunt. Unfortunately for me, I have been told she has some innocent hostages. Who cares about them? As long as you get what you want, all is good, right? He's right, the death of some random people won't affect me one bit. I could take down that bitch, have my mates to myself, and not even think twice about those people. So you're just going to let those people die? Some hero you are. Who the hell are you? I'm the good one, obviously. Wrong, they're the annoying one. Just kill that bitch, Deku. Come on, you know you want to. No? He's a hero. Killing people and letting people die are not heroic things. Well, he let his mother die. He did not, and you know it. Ugh, just shut up, will you? I groaned, pulling at my hair slightly in annoyance and pain. These two really weren't helping my headache. But hey, at least I didn't have a whole bunch of voices telling me I'm worthless and all every second of every day. Fucking imbecile, mother trucker. You know what? I think this is worse, much worse. What you thinking about, Deku-kun? I turned my head to see Toga and some dude with patched skin walking out of a purple warp thingy, too tired to care about them walking into my room in the middle of the night. "Hey crazy, patchwork," I say in return, waving as I sit myself up with a groan. Patchy narrows his eyes at me before turning to Toga, "And why are we in a broccoli's room?" I scrunch my face up in confusion before understanding. "That's a good one too, yeah," I respond coolly, watching as Patchy turns to me with wide eyes. "How did you know?" "I didn't, not really. But your eyes are like Shoto's, and I'm guessing those burns are from overusing your quirk, which must have something to do with fire. Also, your roots are showing, and the tips of your tail and ears are red. I've been told Toto's older brother has red hair. However, I didn't fully know until then, when you just gave it away." The burnt man is left speechless, glaring at me to hide his panic. I giggle at his state before shaking my head and speaking, "Relax, I won't tell, I have secrets too." I lean my head against the wall with a sigh, spacing out as Toga and Patchwork exchange a few words. "Hello. Earth to Small Mate." I snap my head to the side again, my eyes landing on Tuya and Toga. I hum in question as I rub my neck. The older male folds his arms in annoyance, whereas Toga simply giggles. Dabi asks where you got all those pretty cuts from. She repeated for Patchwork, her crazed eyes locked onto my arm. "Oh?" I mumble, glancing down at one of my arms to see the sleeve of my hoodie had bunched up at the top, revealing the many deep cuts I had given myself. "I gave them to myself because it feels nice," I answer, not feeling the need to add on the part about me deserving it. I look back over at them when I hear Dabi, as Toga called him, groan and mumble, "Great, another masochist." "What's a masochist?" I ask, tilting my head to the side like a curious puppy. The smirk makes his way onto Dabi's scarred face, but just as he goes to open his mouth, Toga's hand flies out and covers it. "Don't you dare. The crazy little thing is way too innocent for that," she yells, pulling her hand away with disgust as I assume Dabi licks his hand. "You?" She whines, shaking her hand vigorously. My own face scrunches up as beads of saliva fly off her hand. Dabi simply rolls his eyes before asking, "Why are we here again?" Toga wipes her hand on my bed, ignoring my complaints, before answering him, "We're going shopping." It's the middle of the night, both Dabi and I deadpan, making the blonde wolf pout. "Yo, well, too bad. The rest are already there, plus, if I want to keep hanging out with Deku-kun," Shiggy said, I needed to tell him what we are. "This way, if he doesn't take it well, we can easily get rid of him," she says, smiling once again by the end. "Get rid of me? Kill you, dumbass." Language. "Shut the fuck up. Both of you shut up," I grumble, rubbing my temples. "What was that, brat?" Dabi asked, eyes narrowed. "Relax, Huya, man, alphas are so sensitive. I wasn't talking to you too." He obviously didn't like my comment about being sensitive, but let it go with a huff, shoving his hands into his pockets and leaning against the wall. "Then who you know what?" "Forget I asked." he says, shaking his head before pulling one of his hands out of his pockets, phone with it. He typed something in and not a moment later the black worm from earlier reappears. He doesn't wait a moment after it shows up, walking through it as quickly as his legs could manage. Come on Deku-kun, Toga says before she's gone, having also walked through the portal. I stand up with a sigh, looking back and forth between the warp and my door. It was well past curfew, and if I got caught leaving, let alone going to the mall, I could be in serious trouble. Come on, it'll be fun, stop being such a bore. Don't you dare, fuck it, I whisper to the empty room before walking through. When I step onto solid ground again, my eyes find Dabi and Toga, along with someone who I think has a hand kink, and a boy with horns. Yay, look who's here, Dabi sarcastically mutters, leaning against the store window while playing with his fire, not even looking in my direction. Ignoring him, I bring my attention to Toga and ask, who are they? While pointing to the two unknown blue-haired men. One was covered in hands and was occasionally glaring at Dabi, while the other had one broken horn and was sitting down on the ground, tracing patterns into the floor with his claws. Both had blue hair, the one covered in hands also having blue ears in the tail. The other guy didn't have ears, and his tail wasn't one of a wolf, but looked more as if it belonged to a devil. He kinda looked familiar. Oh, that one is Shiggy, she said, pointing to the blue-haired wolf who was now glaring at her. I told you not to call me that, he exclaimed before turning to me, ruby red eyes visible from behind the hand on his face. My name is Shigaraki Tomiura, you'll call me Shigaraki, not Tomiura, and definitely not Shiggy, got it? Sure thing Shiggy, I say in return, making the horned man and Dabi chuckle. Shigaraki didn't seem to find it that funny and started scratching at his neck while slinging a bunch of curse words at me. I giggle at his reaction, watching as Dabi moved from his spot and hugs Shiggy from behind, holding his hands in his own. They must be mates. And that one's Phoenix. He's a demon. Toga continues, acing as if nothing had happened. The demon waves at me, but before he can even open his mouth I ask, can I see your wings? My voice holding excitement. If you survive tonight, sure, he answers, rolling his shoulders back before bringing himself to his feet. My smile falls slightly, but doesn't leave as I tilt my head to the side and repeat, survive. Shigaraki and Dabi both start paying attention to what's happening again, while Phoenix just walks over to a cafe, shoves his hand through the glass that was between the sweets and him, and retrieves a donut. I watch as the cuts on his hand and arm heal in an instant. Cool. Everyone looks over at him with eyebrows raised, while I just try to control my laughs. What? I was craving some sugar. And don't worry about the alarms, I've frozen time. Right, some demons can freeze time. Well, if you're done being an idiot, how about you come over here and make sure he doesn't lose it when we tell him. Not that I even want to tell him, Shiggy says, glaring at both Phoenix and Toga. See, no one wants you. They want him. Some just want him when he's not alive. I roll my eyes at the voices before asking, what is it exactly that you're telling me? Shiggy and Phoenix stop bickering, a pregnant silence filling the air only to be broken when Toga speaks hesitantly, looking like she was scared of what my reaction would be. We're villains, okay? Okay? They all exclaim out of shock after a beat of silence, their bodies losing all tension, but faces holding a lot of confusion. I hum, skipping up to Phoenix and stealing the half-eaten donut out of his hand. I giggle as he glares at me, seemingly over his shock. What do you expect me to say? I ask the villains, quickly eating the rest of the donut before Phoenix can take it back. Dabi is the one to answer, eyeing me as he speaks. Something along the lines of, villains. In that case, prepare to be brought to justice, then you know, fighting, and stuff. The rest of them nod their heads in agreement, most of them still looking lost. I shrug my shoulders, heroes, villains, what's the difference? We live, we die, we take lives, we save lives. We're all just human. Well, kinda. That was deep. Holy fuck. Where did you find this guy Toga? In an alleyway. I like him. I sigh as to speak before speaking, yeah. You're all surprised, get over it. Now, can I see your wings, Phoenix? I got back to the dorms just before 6, however I had been gone for 12 hours. We had been at the mall for 6, and all that time Phoenix had time frozen. We all messed around and stole some stuff, even though doing that started up another argument up between the two voices in my head, it was still fun. After the demon reached his limit, we left the mall and wandered around town, entertaining ourselves until I had to leave. By the time I had to go, I had made 3 new friends. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see Phoenix's wings though, something about it being dangerous and not wanting to kill me so soon. I dropped the many bags I was holding into my closet before getting dressed for the day, spraying myself before I leave. I didn't have anything to do today. I was supposed to go to the mall, but I had already done that. All I knew was that I needed coffee, and I needed it now. So, after I was dressed, I sprayed myself and practically ran down to the kitchen, only to find smoke everywhere. I giggle as a yellow-haired wolf comes running out of the kitchen, face black with soot. I was confused for a moment before I hear an explosive teen yell, damn it. Who the fuck let Pikachu into the kitchen? I giggle and enter the smoke-infested room, coughing as I make my way to the coffee machine. Nothing is going to stop me from getting my coffee. I could hear multiple smoke alarms going off as I poured a cup off heaven, wondering what Denki burned this time. My face goes blank as I hear Kachin yell from somewhere beside me, "How the fuck do you burn water?" I was sitting in the living room drinking my third or fourth, maybe 10th coffee, watching as Bakugo and Todoroki talked, when the undeniable pain hit me. Dropping my cup, it landed on the floor with a smash, brown liquid soaking into the carpet. I whimpered as I held my stomach. Todoroki, Bakugo, and everyone else in the room save for Miida and Uraraka stepped forward to see if I was okay. They all stopped in their tracks, however, after smelling the room, realization and pity all flashing over their features. Again, save for Miida and Uraraka. I curled up into a fetal position, an overwhelming heat consuming me. Most didn't know what to do, none of them having to go through this every month, and only a select handful ever assisting the Omega in need. Strong arms go under me, lifting me up. I don't need to look to know who it was, the sparks and bliss that instantly arrived at the touch. I moaned at the feeling, the pain quickly fading away. I didn't notice how Todoroki stiffened at the sound of it. Didn't see the look he gave to Bakugo, nor the look that was sent back. I didn't realize that coming down for coffee this morning would be one of the biggest mistakes of my life. And I wouldn't, not until my heat finished. Todoroki carried me up to my room, Bakugo close behind. He used his quirk to keep me cool, not that it was needed, his touch alone was enough to stop the pains. Though I wasn't exactly sure it was going to help stop my pants from becoming tight. Just tell them, we all know that you want them in your bed. Who cares about collateral? I do. That's because you're worse than Iida. How dare you compare me to that scum? I close my eyes as their fifth argument of the day starts, wondering if I should just tell them. At this point I couldn't care less if it had been All Might's life on the line. I just wanted heat to end, and the only way that was going to happen was if, well, to put it bluntly, if I was fucked by my two mates until I couldn't walk. I open my mouth to speak as they push open my dorm room, however the two voices break away from their argument and speak to me again. You're going to get rejected, you know. You're a crazy Omega, who'd want that. He's got a point, not about them not wanting you, but you lied to them. I know I wouldn't want you after that. I snapped my mouth closed, letting out a pained whimper as I held back my tears. Lucky, they don't notice, and if they did, they just shrugged it off as my heat. Were the voices right? Would they reject me? Probably. I mean, they actually fucking agreed on something. And I wouldn't want me either. Who would? No one. I let out a whine as I'm placed on my bed, the heat returning to me in an instant. I immediately jump off my bed, not paying attention to the overwhelming pain or Todoroki stepping towards me, trying to comfort me no doubt. He stops however when Bakugo grabs his arm, nodding in my direction. Todo looks back at me, immediately knowing that I was nesting. I had already shoved down my blankets and pillows on the ground, however before going into it, I spun around to face the two alphas, startling them with the sudden movement. I whined and grabbed both of their wrists, pulling them down onto my makeshift end with me, making sure I was in the middle. They both went still before hesitantly wrapping their arms around me, still silent. Almost all of the pain vanished, my breathing evening out and body cooling down. It wasn't exactly what my body craved, but it was enough. I didn't pay any mind to the moans occasionally leaving my mouth, brain too much in overdrive to process what the consequences may be. And each time one of them moved I would growl and whine at the same time, thinking they were going to leave me. I fell asleep not long after, faintly hearing Todoroki and Bakugo whispering about something. Open your eyes, Katsuki. Fine, I'll search his room and if I find anything that supports your claim, we'll confront him. But I highly doubt you're right. I'm telling you, Midoriya is, somehow, outmade. Not good. Not good at all. But I couldn't bring myself to open my eyes, and soon found the memory slipping away from me like sand in someone's hands. When I wake up, I find myself in the arms of Kiri and Denki, instead of my mates. There was a sharp pain in my stomach, and my body was covered in a thin layer of sweat, however I wasn't in as much pain as I would be. I share an emotional relationship with Kiri and Kami, plus Kiri was an alpha, so it soothed me a bit. Not as much as my mate's touch would help, but it still felt nice. I whimper loudly, feeling as if I was being stabbed by 1,000 needles repeatedly, waking up the two sleeping wolves. Where I start to speak, only for an unbelievable amount of pain to rush through me, causing me to bury face in Kiri's neck. I hear Denki growl, obviously not liking that another wolf was touching his mate, but he managed to control himself, wrapping his arms around me some more, helping even more with the heat and pain. We managed to convince them to leave. We figured it wouldn't be good if they were still around you when your spray wore off. The red-haired alpha speaks, receiving a mumble of gratitude from me. I didn't want to find out, not if it meant people would die. Don't lie to yourself, Deku, you know you don't care. Hell, I bet you'd kill those hostages yourself, maybe even your aunt. Such a hero you are, hey. My throat tightens slightly when I realize it's right, and I find myself having to choke back a giggle. I would happily bathe in the blood of those people if it meant I could just be held by my mates. Unfortunately, that isn't the only thing holding me back from them. Besides the fact that Kiri and Denki always have their eyes on me to make sure I didn't do anything stupid like commit mass murder. However, if you ask me, murder doesn't seem that bad. Japan is overpopulated anyway, my own self-doubts are holding me at bay as well. That, and no matter what decision I make, the voices will always have me second-guessing myself. Or if you tried to get in their pants, Dinky adds, pulling me out of my thoughts. Why would I want to be in their pants? I wouldn't even fit, I ask, confused and momentarily distracted from my heat. Idiot, I have to agree with you there. No, Deku he means, don't. Dinky yells, interrupting his mate. I swear if you even think about telling him I'll hit all your hair dye, he warned, confusing me further. Tell me what, okay? Okay, geesh, he'll find out sooner or later. Don't see why don't you go get some ice packs for him. He quickly changes the topic. I didn't have to look to know that Kami was glaring at the poor alpha. Whining as another wave of pain hits me, Kaminari does as asked, leaving to go retrieve some ice packs. Here, the red-haired alpha speaks, handing me a shirt. I recognize it as Kachin's and immediately latch onto it, inhaling his scent. Before I know what's happening, I'm crying. Hey, Deku, what's wrong? Kirishima asks, clearly worried. I hate this. I cry out, clutching Kachin's shirt in my hands. I want to be with my mates. Why should I care if that means a few people die? The world's never done anything nice for me, so why should I care if a few people end up dead, if it means I can be in the arms of my mates? My sobbing abruptly turns into a fit of giggles, startling Kirishima and his mate who had just come back. Deku, you need to, what? Calm down. I'm calm. I'm so fucking calm right now. I laugh, listening to the voices in my head, both saying something about me being crazy. I'm not crazy, I murmur, scratching at the back of my neck with a pout. I'd slap them if they were actually real. I have no clue how they think I'm crazy. I'm completely normal. We know that, but seriously, your mood swings are giving me whiplash, Dinky speaks, placing an ice pack on my stomach and another on my forehead. Neither of the wolves seems scared of me, more worried and confused if anything. It's silent for a while, but one glaze at either of the wolves' eyes, and I know they're talking to each other through their bond. Meaning whatever they're speaking about, they don't want me to hear. See, not even your own brothers trust you. I'm sure they just feel as if you're a burden. Well, it does make sense. I mean, they're not even related, and who would want to be the brothers of a Deku? I drowned them out, not even sure what one is supposed to be the nice one anymore. I let the silence continue for another 5 minutes. During that time, I curl up in a ball, practically breathing in Kachin's shirt, while finding slight relief from the contact of my two brothers. More especially the alpha one. When I can't bear the defining silence any longer, I announce, I want chocolate, bringing both Kiri and Kami back to the real world. We don't have any chocolate, Dinky replies cautiously, most likely recalling the last time we didn't have any chocolate during my heat. But I want chocolate, I repeat, slightly louder than before. This is why you're fat, Deku. Don't go ruining it now. You haven't eaten in 5 days. If you eat now, it would all be for nothing. I don't care. I want chocolate, I exclaimed, sitting up with a pout. Izuku Kirishima warms, also sitting up. Ijiro, I respond, turning my narrowed eyes onto the alpha. Dinky, both Kiri and I turn to look at the yellow-haired wolf. You just said your own name, I state, slightly confused. I know, but there was no one left, and I felt left out, he responded with a shrug. There's a beat of silence before I turn back to Kiri and state. If I don't get my chocolate, I'll scream. You wouldn't, he narrows his eyes, calling my bluff. I only snort in response before stating, my dick is harder than your quirk right now. I have to go through my heat without my mates. I'm hearing voices and I have this unbelievable urge to leave to rip of a certain pink-cheeked girl's head off. So yes I would. I don't believe you. After a lot of screaming, biting, pulling hair and quirk using and a few other things, I finally got my chocolate. Dinky had to go to the shops to buy some, and I could only imagine the questions he got when he walked down the stairs with a pale face, muttering something having nightmares for months, and wishes for my heat to pass quickly. Currently, he was sitting on my bed, next to his mate who was still groaning in pain, while I laid curled up in my makeshift den, shoving an excessive amount of chocolate into my mouth, covered by a blanket of sweat and many ice packs. Todoroki's paw, then go get the fucking chocolate. Just get out of my bloody way. I hear my mate yell as I walk into the living room, carrying 2 cups of hot chocolate. I watch as Kaminari runs out of the dorms before taking my spot next to Katsuki. He takes his cup, muttering a thanks before I ask, what was that about? TCH, the damn nerd was throwing a tantrum because he wanted chocolate, so Pikachu is getting some now. He responds, rolling his eyes at Midoriya behavior. About Midoriya, did you find anything interesting? I question, sitting back and twisting a strand of my hair between my fingers in a bored manner, even though I was far from bored. My cup sat untouched on the coffee table, steam radiating off the hot liquid, the scent filling the otherwise empty living room. Most of my classmates were at the shops, wanting to do something fun on their day off. Akugo and I declined on F= grounds of wanting to find our mate, which wasn't a complete lie. Katsuki makes a sound of acknowledgement before putting his own cup down. I still think you're delirious for thinking the nerd is our mate, but yes. I did find something, he says, reaching into his pocket and pulling out a perfume bottle. Inside it contained a seemingly glowing blue substance, a strange dull smell radiating off it. The same smell Midoriya has smelled like recently. Out of all the things in his room, this was the only thing that stood out. It seems to be something that blocks the mate bond, just smelling it makes that much clear. Not that it matters, because there's no way in hell he is our mate. Maybe he's just hiding from someone. He persists, pocketing the spray again before I can touch it. I guess we'll find out. I question in response, picking up my cup only to put it down again. For his sake, I hope you're wrong. Kazuki mumbles, leaning his head down onto my shoulder as he lets his mean facade drop. Why is that? Because, icy hot, he hid from us. Don't tell me the thought of our mate hiding doesn't make you angry, or at the very least hurt. I'm silent, because I know he's right. Despite wanting to know my other mate, I also hope I'm wrong. Because if I was right, I don't think I'd be able to handle that amount of pain. I'm probably wrong anyway. I mean, how likely is it that our mate has been right in front of us this whole time? Special spray or not, we would have noticed, right? Deku's paw. The following week was full of crying, name-calling, growling, chocolate and dirty comments that I didn't understand in the slightest. I mean, why do people argue over top and bottom so much? I'd be happy just having a bunk bed. Anytime I asked, I was greeted with silence or a bunch of stuttering that added up to nothing. When I threatened to ask Todoroki and Bakugo, they bribed me with chocolate to stay silent, like me asking would mean the end of the world. I ended up dropping it, ignoring any other dirty comments that were made for the remainder of the week. Which wasn't so hard considering how easily they flew over my head. Kiri and Denki never really left my room either, Kirishima being able to remove some of the pain from my heat and Denki too overprotective to leave either of us alone. They also stopped me each time I tried to leave in order to find my mates. Finally, the week came to the end, allowing me to go to class. Yami. My two brothers left early in the morning, leaving me to get ready and giving me orders not to be late for class. Apparently, it's really getting on Izuku-sensei's nerves. So, naturally, I was already running 10 minutes late. Throwing on my uniform, I neglect my tie and shuffle over to my desk, needing to spray myself before I leave. I reach for the bottle and all but drown myself in it, narrowing my eyes as both the voices start laughing, one manically and the other nervous. Guess who's who? What now? I ask out loud, silencing the both of them for a second before they start again. I groan, eye twitching as the name-calling and arguing starts up. However, the laughter didn't stop, not for another second. You'd think I'd be used to it by now. I do my best to ignore it as I walk out of my dorm room, not bothering with breakfast before I start walking towards class, giggling as I pull the sleeve of my hoodie down to cover up the cuts, old and new. A second later, and I find that the smile I was just wearing was wiped off my face, a scowl taking its place. Ah, there you are, young Midoriya. The number one hero cheers, his signature smile on his face like always. I spare him a glance before walking again, finding myself wanting to go to class if it meant I could get away from him. Young Midoriya. Wait. All Might calls, quickly catching up to me. I don't stop, not even batting my eyelashes in his direction. Instead, I spit, what? Venomously. He looks a little taken aback for a moment before he recovers and asks, will you be doing training with me in the afternoon? I think I'll pass, I mutter, not wanting to spend even more time with him. His smile falls, face becoming serious as he stops walking, grabbing my arm to stop me as well. He quickly lets go upon seeing my face, however makes it clear he won't let me leave. You won't become the number one hero if you don't train, you haven't trained all week. Whether you were in heat or not is irrelevant. You are overreacting, just like women do when they give birth. He speaks, looking down at me with a look of disapproval. I'd like to see him deal with feeling like his whole body was on fire for a whole week. And as for women giving birth, well, I can't speak for that one, but it doesn't exactly look pleasant. Putting on my most sincere face, I sniff and say, you're right, and I'm so sorry. He smiles again, seemingly accepting my apology. It's fine, my beau, he starts, only for me to cut him off. Oh, but you didn't let me finish. His smile once again falls, but he stays silent, waiting for me to continue. I'm sorry that you have mistaken me for someone who actually gives a fuck. Though I don't blame you, with all muscles for brain, you must mistake a lot of things. I only see a glimpse of his red face before I turn around and start walking to class again, not wanting to waste another second on the old man. I hear him stopping away, muttering him something about teenagers, but I can't manage a smile, my face seemingly void of all emotions. I want to feel happy, amused or even angry about the events which had just occurred. But currently, it feels as if the string attaching me to my emotions had snapped. It's not anything new, of course, in fact, it happens quite often. A disconnection of sorts towards myself and my emotions. I'll just add it to the list of side effects that the spray has given me. Why was I doing this again? Oh, right, killing people is considered bad nowadays. Maybe seeing my mates will cheer me up. Oh, I highly doubt that. What? I question aloud, no one being close enough to hear. I was greeted by nothing but more laughs. Shrugging it off, I continue my walk. 15 long minutes pass before I make it to my classroom, the chatter going on inside telling me that the pro hero Racerhead was asleep. My skin prickles as I push the door open, a sudden fear creeping down my spine. All eyes turn to me, and time seems to slow down. The door closes behind me, but I don't hear it, my wide, frightful eyes, trained onto the two standing mates. I knew what was happening, I could feel it, the mate bond fully, there. 100%. Which could only mean one thing, it suddenly makes a lot of sense. The laughing, the different scent of the spray, the fact that I didn't feel completely sick after using it. It was switched out. Someone had taken it. I squeezed my eyes shut, willing this to be a dream, a nightmare. This couldn't be real, I won't allow it. In the end, I couldn't give two shits about those hostages which were also likely to die now, alongside my aunt. But it was more fear of them rejecting me that had me frozen to the spot. I don't care how selfish it sounds, but I don't want to go through that pain. The pain that is inevitable if this was real. If this wasn't some type of dream. I almost cry right then and there when I open my eyes again, not finding the walls off my room, but the confused faces of my classmates, my two mates who looked the verge of tears, the same desks and windows I've seen all year, and the sleeping caterpillar we called out teacher. It wasn't a dream or a nightmare, it wasn't some prank or joke, it was real, and it was hell. My only hopes of this being about something completely different are crushed when the two boys at the back of the room speak in unison, pulling a choked cry out of me. Mate. I don't register the gasps, nor the yells of my fellow classmates. I didn't notice my brothers and Shinso standing up, all looking worried. I didn't hear Araka's whispering, or the fact that half the class was listening to her like their life depended on it. I didn't even notice my nails, turning into claws and sticking into flesh, a puddle of blood already forming. My breathing hitched when all the emotions that were cut off seconds ago came rushing at me, drowning me as my mates slowly walked towards me. Neither looked happy, and I couldn't seem to figure out exactly it was that they were feeling, except for anger and hurt. I can explain, I say, but it doesn't feel real, they don't sound like my words. It's like I'm watching some awful movie, unable to do anything to stop what is going to happen, no matter how much I scream. Unable to change the plot no matter how much I rewind or beg. It takes a moment for Kachin's voice to reach my ears, and I soon find myself wishing I never had it at all. Explain, his voice was soft, quiet, and yet so loud to my own ears. Explain, okay, go ahead and explain why you fucking lied to us. He continued, voice starting off like a young child finding out their mother was taken from them only to end in a harsh scream. I don't flinch, tears slowly pooling down my face as my blood drips onto the floor. The loud noise woke up the tired pro, who almost immediately realized what was going on, too shocked to say anything. Please catch, no? You were right there. You saw how me and Shoto were tearing ourselves apart. Trying to find out, mate. Trying to find you. You knew that we were getting no sleep. Barely eating. Putting on this show for all these extras so we didn't make anyone worry. And yet we were looking for someone who didn't want to be found, who was too selfish to say anything. Or you can't honestly say you think we'd reject you, not after seeing how desperate we were or the fact that we already hand out with you. No, shut up Deku. Just shut it. You sat back and watched us suffer with a smile on your face. Hung out with us like nothing was wrong. I trusted you. We both did, stupid me right. His voice cracked, the tears he was holding back finally spilling. It's a shame too, I actually liked you, he whispers. Just my luck though, for someone I actually liked and hoped to be with other than icy hot to hurt me, betray me like this. He doesn't spare me another glance before he's running out of the classroom, leaving both me and Todoroki behind. I turn to the dual quirk user, eyes desperate and wet, hands shaking as my claws strike the bone, breathing labored as pain surges through my body. The kind of pain that no medication can fix. Todoroki, please, my voice comes out as a broken whisper, desperation clear. The events to where I hurt my mates more than I had ever wanted to. Don't. I don't need your excuses. We could have figured it out together, you could have trusted us Midoriya. A single tear falls down his cheek before he runs after his blonde mate. I'm left standing there, the classroom silent save from the steady dripping of my blood. Shinso, Kaminari and Kirishima all look as if they want to comfort me, however, they, like everyone else, are frozen to the spot, absorbing everything that had just happened. My tears quickly run dry, however the pain never left me. It was infecting, spreading from one place to another before all I could think about were the events that just took place. Does this mean they've rejected me? Probably, I wouldn't want me as a mate either. Especially after what had just happened. Everyone's head snapped to me at the sound of my giggle, watching in slight fear and concern as it dropped to my knees, ripping my claws out of my flesh, and grabbing handfuls of my unruly hair. The tears were back, slowly dripping down my face, but I was giggling nonetheless. In an instant Shinso, Dinky and Kiri are all by my side, as they were not too far behind. Their mouths were moving, I just couldn't seem to hear them. I couldn't hear them trying to calm me down, nor could I hear Araka spreading yet another rumor about me. All I could hear was them. Yelling, screaming, laughing. I thought I had gotten rid of them, but no. All of them were back, every last one. And in the midst were the two that have been there the whole time, joining in on the fun as all of them overload my senses with lies that I believe. Useless, unwanted, such a Deku, worthless, ugly, unloved, murder, crazy. The list went on, and while the classroom had gone silence again, except for my giggling, I was hearing anything but. The students seemed to take a collective intake of breath when my giggling came to an end, a pregnant silence before Araka speaks. See? What have I told you? He's crazy. Any. Before she could finish her sentence, I was on top of her, eye twitching as the voices persisted. I didn't ignore them nor try to block them out. Instead, I let them in. Fighting them had become too exhausting. Deku. Oh shush, I wouldn't do anything. Probably, I cut the red-haired boy off, tilting my head to the side with a bored look as I stared down at the terrified beta beneath me. You know what, Nasa? You're right. I am, as you would say, crazy. Just a little bit though, I mean how could I not be? I lied to the two greatest people alive, my mates, thinking it was for, get this, the greater good. But I just then realized, actually that's a lie. I've realized for a little bit now, that I couldn't care less about what happens for the greater good, because look what happened to me because of it. You little. I cut the squirming girl beneath me off, slamming my fist into her mouth, a small from forming when I felt as it was restraint tool wrapping around my wrist, not pulling me off the girl, but preventing me from causing her further damage. I don't like being interrupted, especially from people who are below me, literally and metaphorically. I speak before continuing. Now, where was I? Oh, right, I actually was done. I give off a small smirk upon receiving a glare from the pink-cheeked girl. Along with half the class, though their fear of, and even worry for me, was still radiating off them like a bad smell. I don't blame them for the fear. I mean, I could easily hurt them with a flick of my finger. I'm not exactly touched by the worry, however, more annoyed than anything. In an instant I was standing back up and equals gained, no longer restrained, for I had managed to get loose on my own. Sensei Izuku didn't try to restrain me again, however he was still on full alert, watching my every move. Geez, punch on girl and suddenly you're the bad guy. Shinso goes to say something, but before he can even open his mouth, I'm out the door, threatening anyone who follows me. I could hear Izuku tell my bothers and best friend to leave me alone, that I need time. He's not wrong, I do need time, but I have a feeling that if he knew why I needed that time, if he knew what I was about to do to myself, he wouldn't have let me out of his sight. I laid on my dorm room's floor, sticky from the blood I was laying in. My hand shook as I lifted it, bringing the knife down onto one of the only free places left on the thighs, before I couldn't bring myself to move again. My body went limp, the only sign of me being alive being the slow rise and fall of my chest, and steady blinking that once helped the now dry tears fall. I had made sure to lock my door. One look at my mutilated body would have me sent to a mental hospital. I also sprayed around my room before I started. With the amount of blood that was currently forming, it would be too risky not to spray around. My vision blurred, but I forced myself to stay away, to endure the pain and listen to the screams and whispers that were racking my brain. I deserved it all and much, much more. That's what they're saying anyway. I could barely move without crying out in pain. My breathing labored as I slowly lost more blood, and I was suddenly grateful Todoroki and Bakugo hadn't marked me yet, not that they ever will now, for it would have meant they would have been able to feel my pain, mental and physical. I honestly had no clue how I was still alive, with cuts on every place I could reach, including my neck, wrist, arms, legs, feet, waist, stomach and more. I myself was afraid to look. The stench of my blood filled my nose, and I worried about someone else, whether it be a classmate or teacher, smelling it too. Unlikely considering that they were all in class, well, all but my mates, but I knew for certain they weren't close by, but I still couldn't shake of the paranoia. After today they all no doubt believes I'm crazy, but seeing this, even I know something is wrong if someone goes through these lengths. I allow my eyes to close as my vision blurs again, thinking about how my pathetic life had turned into this. I could distantly remember a time when I was happy, truly happy with what seemed like no worries. Oh, how I would kill to have that childhood innocence back, where everything was okay, because you believed the world was all good, and everything was just some big game. Then I had those small moments now. Moments when I could let go with my brothers or sing with my bandmates. Of course that was all ruined now. I don't even think Kari and Kami would want me if they saw me now. Actually, scratch that, I know they wouldn't want me. They'd throw me to the side in seconds, just like everyone else. Not that I'd blame them, it is my fault after all. God, I'm such an idiot. Stupid Deku. I didn't pull in another breath as I fell asleep, at least, that's what it felt like. Narrator's paw, Katsuki. Wait. The dual quirk user called out, chasing after his distraught mate. He didn't care for the curious and judgmental stares the lingering students in the hall gave him. All he cared about was his mate who looked about ready to blow someone's head off. Shoto Todoroki felt the same if he was being honest with himself, which he wasn't. Instead he was shoving all his feelings aside, because who needs them anyway, right? The explosive teen came to an abrupt stop, almost causing Shoto to run into him and spun around, crimson red eyes sparkling with tears, fallen and unshed alike. I told him to kill himself once, he whispers, voice shaking with guilt and betrayal. The taller male's eyes go wide for a moment before he regains his composure, his own eyes dry after willing the salty tears away. He doesn't speak, waiting for his mate to continue. I didn't mean it, of course. We were fighting and it got personal quickly. We both said some things we regret, but none more than me. I said something about him being quirkless, and that he'd never be a hero. I then told him to take a swan dive off the building, and hope for a quirk in his next life before running off. His eyes were frantic, looking around the empty hall as if he was searching for something. The only place he wouldn't look was the other boy's eyes. Just as Todoroki goes to say something, the blonde whispers, I never actually thought he'd listen. As I'm leaving the building, he jumped, landed in a shallow pond-like area. That wasn't your fault, the boy's lover whispers, putting a hand on his shoulder. The latter, however, just shrugged it off and continued. He spent a week in the hospital, and during that time I couldn't stop apologizing or reminding him how stupid he was for doing that. For actually listening to me. We became a lot closer after that, promise we'd never fight again, nor keep secrets from each other. This was our first fight since then, all because he was so stupid. Because he couldn't trust us or didn't want us, whatever the reason, he lied to me. To us. I thought we were friends. I thought I could have trusted him. Shoto. His voice ended in a whisper, so broken that the cold alpha immediately pulled his slightly smaller mate into a hug, a few tears even slipping from his own mismatched eyes. He has his reasons for what he's done, and while I don't expect you to forgive him, try to understand just a little bit, and refrain from jumping to conclusions even if you're hurt. I promise we will talk to him and find out his reasons for what he's done. I'm almost certain he wasn't trying to hurt us, and if he didn't want us, why would he hang out with us? His voice was strained, forced, almost like he didn't even believe his own words. The ash-blonde boy didn't seem to notice, however. Promise. Came Katsuki's soft whisper, muffled due to the fact that his face was buried in the crook of the toller's neck. Promise. Was the hesitant response. When the mate bond between the pair and Deku suddenly went out, both boys tensed, before writing it off as the smallest mate using the spray, mine so busy to realize that was simply impossible, for they had the only bottle of spray that could do such a thing. Katsuki puffed. I throw my bag under my desk, sitting down before throwing my feet up onto the desk. I can't help but glance over at Deku's desk, frowning when I find him missing. Again. I'll admit, the first few days I was happy he wasn't here, needing time to myself, and maybe with icy hot. However, it's been a week now, and I felt unbelievable guilty for the things I had yelled at him. That being said, neither me nor my mate have forgiven him yet, both still angry and hurt. Even if half and half didn't show it. The bond between us and Deku was back, faint but there, so we knew he was somewhat okay. Physically anyway. Despite my concerns of him not being here, I wasn't about to go look for him in that all-night covered dorm room, too stubborn and mad. I don't think anyone's actually gone looking for him, though they clearly miss him. Some at least. All might just seemed irritated, and a select few actually looked happy he wasn't here. I'll give you 3 guesses to who they are. I kinda avoided any talk about the nerd in general, the wound still fresh and not needing salt to be rubbed into it. I don't think he'd ever forgive Deku if I was being honest. He'd lied to me, hurt me. While Shoto seemed slightly more forgiving, it was clear, to me at least, that he also wasn't planning to forgive and forget. The nerd hadn't even shown his face yet, much less apologize. I have to block out the memories of how happy Deku had made me. Being one of the select few I had let in, the same going for Todoroki. We had both been happy, like a weight had been lifted off our shoulders. Now, however, that weight was suffocating us all because Deku didn't want to trust us, whatever. If I remember them, if cry because of the betrayal, of the hurt, of the raw emotion clouding my mind. To make it worse, my mother had gone missing. And as much as an old hag she was, I really did love her. Her sudden disappearance has me worried. It doesn't feel right, something was wrong, very wrong. I bet he killed himself. God, I hope so, God riddance if you ask me. An obnoxiously loud whispering coming from the front of the class had pulled me out of my thoughts. It didn't take me long to figure out what the pink-faced bitch was talking about, and by the low growls, whitening knuckles and glares, so did a few other students. She didn't seem to notice or care thought, for she continued to talk to her blue-haired friend. Deku? The robot asked, taking advantage of the free time while the teacher was out. Yes, Deku. The bloody Omega should have killed himself. I was about ready to explode. One look at shitty hair and Pikachu, and I knew I wasn't the only one. However, before any of us could jump into action, a low growl had everyone turn pale, even myself. The room seemed to drop in temperature, icy mist radiating off a very pissed off Todoroki. This seemed to get the pair's attention, for they stiffened and tuned to face the alpha who was located next to me. I did my best not to shiver from the cold, and admittedly, fear. I had only ever seen my tallest mate like this once before, and it was not a pretty sight. I would suggest you shut that mouth before you say something you might regret. Now, while I'm glad that you are spreading something other than your legs for once, I would advise you stop the nasty rumors before they get as bad as your face. If you say one more word about someone killing themselves, which is by no means a joking matter, I will not be as forgiving. His calm voice was a violent contrast between the deadly glare and growl that left his throat, making the threat clear. Most weren't stupid enough to think Todoroki gave empty threats, especially like this. Upon hearing her whimper and meek, ever so slightly sarcastic, "Yes, Alpha," Todoroki sat back, face smoothing over and returning mate to his cold mask. Though if the temperature of the room was anything to go by, he clearly still wasn't over it. This was going to be a long and cold day. Deku Pop, if you see the boy I used to be, could you tell him that I'd like to find him? And if you see the shell that's left of me, could you spare him a little kindness? Cause I've been high and I've been low. I've spent 1,000 nights alone, trying to hold on tight. And feelings come but they won't go. Please won't someone take me home before I lose my mind? Am I broken? Am I flawed? Do I deserve a shred of worth or am I? That's another fake, fucked up lost cause. And am I human? Or am I something else? Cause I'm so scared and there's no one there to save me from the nightmare that I call myself. I've tried everything and anything, but nothing seems to work quite like it should. Between the madness and the apathy, seems there's nothing left inside of me that's good. Cause I've been high and I've been low. I've spent 1,000 nights alone, trying to hold on tight. And feelings come but they won't go. Please won't someone take me home before I lose my mind? Am I broken? Am I flawed? Do I deserve a shred of worth or am I? That's another fake, fucked up lost cause. And am I human? Or am I something else? Cause I'm so scared and there's no one there to save me from the nightmare that I call myself. Am I broken? Am I flawed? Do I deserve a shred of worth or am I? That's another fake, fucked up lost cause. And am I human? Or am I something else? Cause I'm so scared and there's no one there to save me from the nightmare that I call myself. I didn't know you could sing. I turn on my heels to find the owner of the voice, spotting the tall scared older brother of one of my mates, leaning against the doorframe of what used to be the training room for the villains. I may have transformed it into a studio of sorts, much to the young leader's displeasure. I don't say anything, simply shrug and begin packing away the instruments that Toga said she found. He's silent for another moment before speaking again. Are you? Never mind. I didn't recognize the song, an original. He asks, changing his sentence halfway upon seeing my current state. Asking if I was okay would have been fairly stupid considering the state not just my physical but mental state was it currently. Nodding, I jump off the makeshift stage with a small wince before walking out the door, calling over my shoulder, yeah, I wrote it the other day. As the scarecrow follows me. It's been a week since the incident. When I opened my eyes again, I had woken up in some abandoned bar, surrounded by villains. Toga immediately started yelling at me, while the rest of the villains I actually knew simply glared. Apparently, I went too far. Something about my heart stopping and being dead for an hour or so. If it wasn't for Phoenix, the devil villain's multitude of powers, I would have stayed dead. To say my reaction to the situation had shocked everyone would be an understatement. I simply blinked, shrugged, ignored the pain in my body and walked to the fridge, where I proceeded to eat all their chocolate spread. I haven't left the bar since, and most didn't seem to care. The ones that did, namely the villains who didn't trust me, the successor of the Great All Might, but one look from the blue-haired leader, had them quite. You know, that song had some foul lang. I swear to whatever god you believe in, if you try to reprehend me on my lang-like Shoto, I will tell your precious mate that you ate his peanut butter chocolate cake. But you're the one who ate it. Well, he doesn't know that, and who's he going to believe? His thief of a mate who has quite the track record or the poor innocent Izuku Midoriya who is having such a hard time in his fragile life right now? I ask, spinning around to stare at him with big white puppy dog eyes. However, the almost cruel smirk on my lips upon seeing his expression gave me away. He huffs, glares, and pushes past me, muttering something about me being more of a demon than Phoenix is. I was sitting in what the lead called the living room, talking with Toga. Our crazed giggles filled the near-silent bar, making the surrounding villains shuffle away slowly, as if we pounce on them at any given moment. I wouldn't blame them though, Toga has been known to do that. When Toga looks behind me, her crazed smile suddenly turning into a slightly worried one, I stop giggling and turn around, looking up at Shiggy from my spot on the floor. Not wearing his father hand, I was able to see his expression as well, spotting the frown and slight fear in his eyes. This should be good. I don't think them kicking him out is good, though it's as expected. You're right, for once, who would want him? Did not. Shut it, I mumble before tilting my head to the side slightly, strands of fluffy green hair falling in front of my eyes. What's up, Shiggy? I question, giggling when he scowls and tells me off for calling him that once again. Remembering why he was here again, his scowl was gone, replaced with a look of hesitation and distress. An eyebrow raises as I watch the young villain start to scratch his neck, reopening old scabs and creating new ones. My smile quickly leaves my face, annoyance quickly bubbling up on side of me. What is it? Spit it out already, I all but growl. No one was surprised, already used to my mood swings. Especially lately, apparently my mood has been a lot less stable. Honestly, I don't see it. My smile is back in an instant the second he narrows his eyes and starts talking again. I didn't notice half the people around us taking a step back. Fine brat, I just wanted to tell you before you found out on your own. The lady you wanted me to send some people to watch over. She's gone. Narrator's paw. Don't you think we should give him some more time? I mean, this can be easy for him, Dinky asks, scratching his yellow hair as we walk out of class. Exactly, he shouldn't be alone, expressly with his track record. Besides, we've already given him time. A whole week. And no one's seen him since. You can't tell me you're not worried. A red-haired alpha response, only receiving a nod in response, a saddened expression overtaking his face upon being reminded of their brother's absence. Hey, Kirishima says, forcing a smile onto his face as he elbows his mate lightly. Cheer up, it's Deku, I'm sure he's fine. He's probably just hoarding all the chocolate spread and watching that All Might video he's obsessed with. He flashes the slightly taller male a small, uncertain smile, grabbing his hand as they walk towards the dorms. When they get there, they both spot Shinso standing outside Deku's door, his face scrunched up. It doesn't take the pair long to figure out why, for as soon as they're next to the sleep-deprived teen, the faint smell of blood drifts into their sensitive noses. It was faint, but smelt rotten, stale and old in a way. It smelt worse than grape soda's old room. Hey bro, Kirishima agreed, doing his best to ignore the smell and praying to the mood goddess that it wasn't coming from inside Deku's room. Only just noticing them, Shinso spins around to face the two other wolves, cocking his head to the side slightly. The bags under his eyes looked more darker than usual, hair messy and unkempt, as if he had just gotten out of bed. Not to mention the unhealthy color his skin had turned into since Midoriya's absence. In reality, he looked the most affected, and no one blamed him. Technically speaking, Midoriya was Shinso's first friend. It also happened to be the person who would stay up with him when he had nightmares, though no one knew this. Oh, hey, what are you two doing here? The beta asks, his voice gravely and rough, as if he hadn't had anything to drink for days. Denki and his soulmate shared a quick look, both silently agreeing that they would get the purple-haired teen to drink, eat and sleep, even if they have to use force. A small moment doesn't go unnoticed by the mini erasure head, who groans, bringing the pair back to reality, as they flash him sheepish smiles and shrug. Denki was the first to break the silence by answering the question. We're here to check on Deku, we're a bit worried. Yeah, me too. He hasn't answered his phone or any of the text, except to tell me to just forget him. Which was 3 days ago. At first, I was confused, but now I'm worried he's done something stupid. And that smell isn't helping. Shinso wasn't aware of Izuku's nasty habit, so when the two males in front of him paled then proceeded to kick down the locked door, he was confused. That didn't last long, however. As he went to ask what the hell was wrong with them, the suffocating rusty smell of stale blood filled his noses, a metallic taste dancing on his tongue, as he made the mistake to breathe through his mouth. His tired eyes grew wide, and he pushed through the two frozen wolves, a chuck gasp of sorts, leaving his mouth upon seeing the blood stains that had turned the normally soft green carpets of Deku's room stale and maroon. On the bed was a note, though everyone saw it, no one made a move to grab it. No one even stepped into the room. All taking in the state of the room. All Might posters were torn down, littering across the blood-stained carpet. Clothes scattered on the furniture and hanging out the broken window. The fan looked about ready to fall off the ceiling, and the lights were blown, shards of glass looking like glitter in the fairly large room. Finally, Kirishima stepped forward, two of the wolves following behind him like zombies. They didn't even know what had happened, yet the tears were already falling. The only one holding them back seemed to be the most affected. The sleep-deprived teen, although holding no tears, looked ready to break. His breathing ragged and hands shaking, his eyes were frantic, looking from one mess to the other, mind refusing to cooperate with him, as he convinced himself it was fake. It had to be. The red-haired wolf picked up the note, tail between his legs and ears pressed flat, much like the other two. He didn't read it, just stared at it for some time. None of them knew how much time had passed, but by the time he started reading, the sun was setting. Hey guys. I don't really know who's reading this, but I'm sorry. I think I am anyway. It's hard to figure out what I feel now. It's all muddled up and confusing. Anyway, don't worry about the blood. I'm fine. No, that's a lie. I'm alive. On the outside at least. I guess this is a goodbye. I can't bear to have my mates reject me, which is defiantly going to happen now, and I don't blame them either. I'm messed up, like always. God, I'm such a useless Deku, right catching? I'm sorry brothers, and Shinso too. I didn't want to leave you guys, but I couldn't bear it. I know it's selfish of me, but you'll be better without me. Anyway, I need to go now. If I'm gone too long, they'll get worried and probably start killing people. Can't have that happen, now can we? Deku, the crazy Omega. Guess Uraraka was right. No one spoke, everyone soaking in the words, all huddled around the note that was now stained with teardrops. The silence was interrupted as sparks of electricity swam through the air, pain and shock sobs, leaving both Kirishima's and Kaminari's throats. They couldn't believe he left. Without even saying a proper goodbye. They were hurt, yes, but they were also mad. Unbelievably so. All the while, Shinso was searching the room high and low, muttering under his breath before he finally yells, drawing all the attention to himself. Damn it. Midoriya, where the hell are you? Come out, this isn't funny. Please, you promised you wouldn't leave me like they did. The last part came out in a whisper as he dropped to his knees, Denki and Ichiro, both sharing another look through tear-clouded eyes. They were both thinking the same thing. They had each other, other friends and a family, even if Kirishima's is an adopted one, because his family were too deep in alcohol to realize he was there. Shinso didn't. Sure, he had his dads, though no one knew who they were, but that was it. Denki, Todoroki, Kirishima and even Bakugo, though hung out with him, were barely considered friends. The only one who truly held that title was now gone. Hell, he didn't even have a mate yet. The two wolves walked up to the broken teen. Denki wasted no time with wrapping his arms around him in a warm, comforting hug. Come on, Kirishima whispered, still standing as the two betas below him hugged on the ground. We have to tell his mates and the teachers. Deku paused. Stop that, Dabi ordered, bored, as I tried, once again, to pull the quirk erasing collar off my neck. No? How can I kill them if I don't have access to my quirk, and are tied to the wall like a dog? I yelled at the alpha who was currently cleaning up the trashed bar with the rest of the villains. The two low-life villains that I was pointing at took a step away from me, both also omegas who reeked of fear. Good, they let my aunt get kidnapped, they should be terrified. The third one that was responsible snorted from the other side of the room, sneering at me as he mumbled something about how omegas have no respect these days, and something else that I missed. My eye twitched and I attempted to jump at him, only to be kept back by the chains that were attached to the collar around my neck, causing the beta to laugh as I gasped for air before having a coughing fit. I had quirk erasing bracelets at first, however, when I grabbed a knife and started stabbing anyone in my way, they had to take extra steps. Unfortunately for me, the only option left was the fucking collar. Listen kid, I couldn't care less if you killed them. In fact, I would be happy to let you off that little leash so you could kill them for 2 reasons. 1, I hate them. 2, I like watching people die. However, Shigaraki said that they have quirks that could be useful for us. And out of the bedroom, he gives the orders. And he told me to make sure you didn't kill them. The only way I can do that without having to keep an eye on you, is to tell those idiots to stay away from you and keep that collar on. So, sit still so you don't kill yourself again, and calm the hell down, he snaps, turning to look at me and using his alpha tone at the end. I narrow my eyes at him but submit, picking at the collar as I glare at everyone and anyone. Just so you know, you are now on my kill list, I informed Dabi cautiously, causing him to roll his eyes as he goes back to cleaning. Well, burning anything that's broken and kicking the ass underneath something, but what does it matter, right? Come on. I promise I'm over it. Just let me free. I whined, pulling at the thick chain that wouldn't let me move more than 3 feet away from the wall. You're lying, Dabi says, not taking his eyes off the TV screen as he beats his mate at yet another race, causing the latter to growl and disintegrate his controller. Again. And how would you know? I questioned with narrowed eyes. You were just telling us how you were going to kill them 5 minutes ago, Deku-kun. Toga answers with a crazed smile as she drinks some red liquid that smelled funny. She was also restrained, wanting to join me as I murdered the 3 who deserved to burn in hell. I giggle as I roll onto my back. Oh yeah. I didn't know what time it was, but everyone had gone to bed by now. Toga was asleep on the other side of the room, mumbling something about blood, cake and knives. I decided then that I wasn't going to eat the cake that Toga had made earlier today. I was still chained to the wall, my back against it as I fiddled with the chain. Ha! You really are mud. I dunno, he looks more like a bitch to me. Leave me alone, I whine, running my fingers through my fluffy green hair, before tracing some of the many scars on my body, doing my best to drown out the voices. My eye twitches as I'm suddenly reminded in a not-so-subtle way that my aunt is most likely dead now because of me. Imagine her screams. She'll never be able to see her son again. You're the reason one of your mates no longer has a mum. Killer. Murder. How do you expect Kachin to love you now? Yeah, I know, okay. I snap, not realizing that I had screamed it. You're no hero. You're a killer. Should have stayed dead. No one wants you. Your mother would be so disappointed. It's no wonder why your dad left. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. I chant, voice slowly growing louder as each second passes. Before long I'm just screaming. Not even words, just straight out screaming as my eyes become blurry, black spots filling my vision. I didn't notice how a handful of villains were now surrounding me. I think I would have if it weren't for the voices and a sudden pain coming from my shoulder blades, demanding my attention. I hear it before I feel it, the sickening rip of flesh before the searing pain. It fades quickly, but the simple reminder of it had me whimpering. There was a wait now though, and when I turned my head to see why I froze. The place was silent. I had stopped screaming the second the pain stopped, putting up with the voices for a moment, and so had the yelling of the villains around me. Not that I noticed that. When I look at the crowd around me, I find them all staring at what I had just been looking at, all their eyes wide and filled with shock. Well, all but Phoenix, he looked bored with the situation. The silence was broken the second Toga exclaims, voice filled with awe, Deku-kun has wings. And look at his eyes. They're red. No fair. Monster, freak, ugly, abomination. I ignored the voices as the room they called a living room erupted to life, people all pointing and shouting about my new appearance. I ignored them, looking behind me to see large white feathered wings with black tips and sharp talons. Talons that had cut the chains off like paper within seconds of appearing. I feel power like never before bubble up inside me. My eyes, which were now red according to Toga, caught the sightless movement, seeing everything as if it were midday and not 2 in the morning. My other senses seemed to have improved, making all the shouting around me so much worse, and the stale smell of blood most of the villains wore filled my nose. I suddenly felt even worse for who found my room. This smell is unbearable. Sure, I'd felt power before, such as one for all. But this power felt like a fine brush in my hand when all it had been doing before was finger painting. When the room suddenly lapsed into silence, I looked back to the crowd, seeing them all glaring at Phoenix who was oblivious to the stares as he played what sounded like Candy Crush on his phone. Phoenix, Shigaraki growled, gaining the demon's attention. He didn't seem fazed by the stares off all the angrier Kurio's werewolves, even less so for the few humans. Yeah, boss. Hey, did Deku get a haircut or something? He looks different, he asks, pocketing his phone and giving his leader his attention, before immediately getting distracted by me. I narrow my eyes but giggle, putting the pieces together and getting an idea of what the final image will look like. You know full well what is different. Now spill. What did you do? Shiggy asked, glancing back at me as I started humming to myself, playing with my new wings. No one seemed surprised by how calm I had suddenly become. I wonder why. Oh fine. Man, you're no fun. I just asked my dad for a little favor. To which he complied. And what, pray tell, did Lucifer grant his favor, son? Dabi asked curiously, annoyance also clear in his voice. A few people gasped upon hearing who the demon's father was, but a glare from said demon had them silent before they could ask any questions. I merely looked up with raised eyebrows before giggling and going back to playing with the soft feathers. Simple. He made Deku a demon. Thanks for watching, you beautiful people. If you enjoyed, like, share and sub. You can check other what ifs on the channel. I'll see you around.